able to accomplish it much easier. The other side of it is obviously when the clients come through the door, building with realtors and clients, their relationships, which Connie's going to talk about real quick.
You know, that's just one way that, another way that we can reach those clients is through other realtors. And our realtor friends are valuable in what they bring to the table. We help them by attending the realtor sales meetings, take in our, our treats and give our, we just talk to them about new home or inspired homes, not new homes, sorry, but inspired homes, and help them with their luncheons. We do broker tours, and another one is customer satisfaction. We want to make sure that our customers are satisfied. And referrals, that's kind of a really great way is referral, through our referral system.
We see it as that we have two clients. We have the buyer that comes in the home that wants to buy an inspired home, and we have the broker who's representing the buyer to buy the home. And we believe that if we can sell both sides of that, we have a better chance of closing the deal. If we can get the realtors in the community excited and knowledgeable about the inspired homes, then they in turn, and we've seen this happen already with the Crazy Parson Girls and Jack Boyd, and they have actually gone through the process, understood the value of inspired home, and brought repeat clients in to put contracts on the home. So we believe, two different clients that we want to target and that we do target. Traffic for the reserve, October was 43 units, November 28, December thus far is 8 traffic units. Our target consumer group that we've seen in the reserve has been an older demographic, mainly some retirees, people that are looking to downsize. 70% of our traffic is people that are looking for ranch homes. These are informed decision makers. These are people who have bought a home previously and or built a home. In fact, many of these people have gone through the build process at least twice with 2 different builders. We've had 5 sales in reserve in this past quarter.
Jim, why is that in terms of the older buyer? I mean, because Pulte had set it up so they had really, similar to Kensington Farms, they had ranches and then the 2 stories and so forth. And we've had previous builders in there where all products seem to sell at the same speed. Why are you getting, especially with the schools and the Many Center, why are you getting a lot of retirees or empty nesters, especially that far out of the metro? You think that?
I think the reason is because there are so few ranch homes available, and that area that Inspired has the ability to offer a ranch home is driving that traffic there. There's a huge demand in that specific area for ranch homes, and there's very few on the market today. And if you look at the reverse story and a half, I don't even think they're competitive with Inspired, but they're at about $145, $146 a square foot. If you take an Inspired home and you build out the basement, 1,000 square foot in the basement, we're at $104, between $104 and $107 a square foot. So Inspired can actually offer a better product with a built-out basement at a lower price per square foot than they can get into with what they're looking at with these reverse story and a halves, which are basically ranches on a walkout lot.
Does that include lot or without?
Includes lot. Includes lot.
I think it's probably valuable to note the 5 that we have sold. So you've got the Lambs and the Woodwards, who both fit into that demographic,
right.
And then you've got the Tennysons and the Meningers, who are younger, first timers. Yeah, who are younger one's a Provenance, one's a Ballantine.
And then we have the Rays.
We have the Rays
that
also.
have the
Opus.
And I don't know what their demographic is.
Family,
young
children,
family.
just moved from Colorado.
So I think what we're seeing traffic-wise, some of that is based on, and sorry to jump in here, some of that is based on the marketing that we've done in terms of marketing the ranches in the reserve, like in similar articles, the traffic that's coming in. I think it is of note that the 5 that we sold is kind of split down the middle. And so,
which is interesting, and I'm sure it will be a conversation, but if 70% of the traffic is ranch buyers and 30% is not ranch buyers, yet 3 out of our 5 sales are not ranch buyers, which group are we converting at a higher percentage?
Good point.
Yep.
Well, one of the reasons I asked too is just, I'm thinking of, we got 60 lots still, but based on absorptions we want to hit, we're going to beat through those pretty quick. so we've got that second phase out there, so
Mhm.
how
How do you plan it?
yeah, what's the makeup, how do we break it down for?
And Corey, I think we're gonna have a much better handle on this, the more data points we get, so I think that after we get through this
Spring.
next quarter, through the spring, I think, we should look at this again and find out, because that, maybe the demographic, the people coming through might shift a little bit. So I'm actually real excited to see what happens, coming spring, 'cause I mean, we may have a bunch of single family people with kids come through and it may completely flip flop over the other way.
But I think Jim's point is exactly right in terms of availability of floor plan. That's why we're getting so much ranch traffic. That may not be converting all those to sales, but the reason so many people are coming through articulating that is because of the lack of product that's available out there.
Why is there like, is it too expensive?
Yeah.
To build, and so,
Yeah, it is. People are choosing the active adult communities versus just straight up
Straight
ranches, and I think that's a deal. And you'll see with our newest price increases that we kind of we were offering some pretty smoking deals on some ranches that
That's
we
true.
were not able
That
to
is
Yes,
afford.
absolutely.
And so some of that
That
may
real traffic.
come a little bit back down to earth now that we've
Yeah.
realigned our pricing.
I think that target consumer group as well, it takes so long for them to pull the trigger because that's
Yeah.
a lot of them, it's their last stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the last stop they're gonna buy before they really downsize to a 1-bedroom assisted living home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, from being over there before in the reserve with Coleman, I can just tell you, that was 90% of the people that we sold to. They had some serious physical problems that necessitated them making a move from a 2-story or another home into a ranch.
And what a lot of them do too is they rent for a year. That's kind of their plan. And while they're renting for a year, they look for a new home to build. And so they're locked into this 1-year contract or however long. And so it's they're looking a year out. They're looking long term.
They're liquid, they have great reserves, credit income is no problem. Some of them can even, purchase that home without even having their other home sold. So
I think one other thing, Corey, is during the boom, of the real estate boom, there was a lot of single family homes being built. And then when it came down and we had the crash, not as many people could afford to buy a home at that point. Banks weren't loaning to people. And then you got the baby boomers, 10,000 people every single day are turning age 60 from now until for the next 15 years. So you have this huge, massive demographic of older people, and you have a shortage of ranch homes. So I think there's a lot of different dynamics that have actually driving people at this point in time to look at ranch homes in the reserve.
does that allow for a premium on your home, or is it still capped at their purchasing power?
Well, I think it's a purchasing power, but I also think it's there are people out there that are doing the premium, which is the active adult community. So the reason ours is interesting is because we're not doing that, because we're in a place in the market that people aren't doing. So there's plenty of folks that are taking a premium at a $400,000 ranch because they're converting folks down. Ours is the folks that don't want to get caught up in that, and they're saying, hey, I don't need maintenance free. Like my lot's 50 feet wide. Like I can
Right.
mow the lawn. It's going to take 5 minutes. So I don't need to pay $100,000 premium for maintenance free.
I've had one client of mine that came through looking for a maintenance-free community. The rest of the folks are just what Dan said. These guys actually want to mow their yard. They want the exercise. They want to be out. They want to feel like they're still productive. So we had one guy. The only reason the one guy wanted the maintenance-free is because he actually lived 6 months out of the year somewhere else.
where I'm at, that's one of the first questions I get, is it maintenance provided? But then they don't care when you say it's not. Why are you concerned about this?
Well,
It's a non-issue.
I think the reason is because right by the reserve, and this may not pertain to you, but by the reserve there is a maintenance provided community. They're paying like how much per month? $150 a month or $200 a month, and we got people that are coming over at us saying we got to get the heck out of this.
Which community is that?
It's right there. It's part of the reserve.
The
It's
Is it the Enclave?
Village.
Oh, the Enclave,
The
those
Enclave.
townhomes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then they're trying to get out of it because of the monthly fees are killing them. They just can't
Well,
get out.
and the reason why, if you see the plat, it's the Grand Villas, and then
Right.
there's even that old sign out there that we're
Yeah.
gonna knock down. That was the plan for those lots too, at one point those were gonna be a maintenance provided piece out there, and that didn't work.
You're knocking down the sign off 7?
The sign off of, was it Gleason?
The one off Gleason, yeah. What about that big ass one off 7?
Oh, yeah, there is one facing
There
right.
There is one.
Yeah.
I wondered what that was
Yeah.
pointing to, because it said maintenance provided communities, and I didn't know where that was.
Yeah, it's to the north of the community.
It's right by that open field.
If
Yeah,
it's on our
that's already
property,
west
let's
of where you
knock
guys
it
are
down.
at.
If it's for the Grand Villas, let's knock it down.
Can you take a picture of it?
Mhm.
Connie?
Is Ron gonna knock that one down?
Yeah.
That one at Gleason.
Next trip
Yeah,
out there,
I
they're
didn't
doing
even know that
it.
was there until a week ago.
Okay, one of the
Hey,
communities that we
just a
saw,
second, for 1 second, Connie,
sorry.
I'm taping this, so you may wanna move that way.
or Smile, one of the two.
Just so you know.
Thank you.
I thought you'd be self-conscious
It'll
if you
help
were
me
the
anyway.
entire, okay, go ahead.
Canyon Creek Highlands is one of the communities that Connie and I looked at as a competitive market for the reserve. They're at 329 to 439.
Mm-hmm. So what we found that they do well is they have a busy community with multiple builders. They have about 8 builders in there. Lots of specs, so they have ready to buy homes and move in quick. They have lakes and trails, excellent amenities. They have on their website, I think our website's better. I think we do that better. The only difference is that interactive plat map. I think that's rocking. I mean, it lets them know walk out, view out. I think it's very,
Is
very
that
good to have that.
builder, what's the?
It's
that does those?
I actually know one of the guys that coded that. It's a really neat piece of software, and it shows the entire subdivision with every lot on there, and it has dots on each one, so you can see what's available. You can see what's sold, and they're all different
Yeah.
colors, and then you can see like if there's spec homes available, and when you hover over it, it tells you the price of the lot or the price of the home, and then it'll say 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Or are you
Yeah.
pulls in the MLS?
Yes.
Seen that
Or a
too.
picture of the home.
Yeah, it's
We have-
Yeah,
yeah.
it'll be, if there is a home, there'll
Guys,
be a picture of it.
Sales Simplicity allows us to do that, so we'll have that up in
Cool.
a month or so.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
it's
excited
just
for
it's
that.
just we're just pointing out that it's a neat
Yeah,
tool.
yeah, and so it's
Yeah.
tied to the lot information that we have in there, because we load the lots in Sales Simplicity,
Yeah.
and then you code a plat map based on what's in Sales Simplicity, and you put it up. So you take the PDF, you code each one of them, and then it's tied back to exactly, so you change the price in Sales Simplicity, it changes on the plat map.
It's gonna be awesome.
So we have the ability to do that. I just learned about it last week. But
Yeah, and that'll be great because I think that does
Yeah.
generate leads. 90% of all people go to the internet first. We all know that,
Mhm.
and so they can get out there and search and hover and do these things. So I think that's great.
Mhm. Yeah, so, and landscaping, they had a lot of extra landscaping in their common areas that we thought were really nice. Price mobility is huge in this subdivision. They're actually Canyon Creek, but there are like 3 different levels to Canyon Creek. So we saw that as a positive for them, that they could actually keep their kids in the same school area, district, and then they could move from, area to area, still move up in price and home. So we found that to be positive. What we do better,
That's still in that range of 329, that's within that range? or
they
is it-
go up from, so the Highlands is the one that we see as our closest competitor in price. You'll move up to each one and you'll move up in price. I think they go up to like 700, and you can probably even do some extra stuff inside that 700 to go up even more. So, but anyway, what we do better, we have an awesome price per square foot, even with our price hikes. I mean, we're just so much better. We build a 2012 code, and not every builder does that, and we rock because of that. Their disadvantages, they have minimal ranch homes. I know you saw in the picture that reverse story and a half. They actually, it's a reverse, so they finish out the basement. And like Jim was saying earlier, with that $28,000 basement add-on finish, we're still priced $104 per square foot. So we don't really think that if they're going for price, we got them.
On the reserve, so, sorry to keep interrupting,
That's
but
okay.
what is our range when you're marketing? If they're saying 329 to 439, what's our?
We are up to 240 up to about 360 now. So
The active new home listings in this subdivision
So
are
let me jump back to that,
Sorry.
because it's something you guys should probably know that we've done as well. There's pretty much $100,000 spread in all of our communities. So from low to high, you're always going to get from the lowest ranch to the highest is $100,000 spread. So it's just where the starting point is, and always goes up plus 100 for the biggest house in that community. So that's a nice data point for everybody
Yeah.
that I haven't laid out there.
in this subdivision. There's 10 active new home listings. Average sales price around $383,000. About 2,900 square foot is average. $137 price per square foot is average. The sold and or pending new home listings in the last 90 days in this subdivision are 9, with an average sales price of around $418, around 2,900 square foot, $143 per square foot, which is less than 1 sold per agent per month. Another subdivision that we compare ourselves to that we believe is a competitor is Brampton West. Price range of $278,000 to $342,000. These are 2 and 3 car garage homes, 4 bedroom, 2.5 and 3.5 baths, between 2,300 and 3,000 square foot. Some of the standard features they include are similar to what Inspired does at granite countertops, distressed hand scrape, hardwood flooring, tile master bath, iron spindles, porches, bedroom, level laundry rooms, and the jetted master bathtubs.
So what we found with Brampton West, what they do well is, again, they have just several spec homes. They have 10, actually, I think it might even be a few more than 10 right now. Their website, so they have 2 different websites. They have a builder website, and then they also have a Brampton West website, which ours, by hands down, on both of those, ours is much better. But what we liked about theirs was their interactive plat map.
And their customer testimonial videos.
And they, on their builder website, they have a customer testimonial, which was
And the builder
really
is pre, or is
Pre.
it?
Yes,
It's a
great.
horrible website.
It's a horrible website.
It's a horrible
it's really,
website.
and even I like Greg, but even the video of him on there is
Yeah.
not a good testimony for the
we
builder.
could do a rocket. But anyway, they're interactive again, and our interactive plat map was on the builder website, not on the Brampton West website. So this subdivision is also nearly completed. They're ready to move on as well. It is really close to Lake Lenexa walking trails. I mean, it's just kind of right around the corner. You could bike over there and hike, or, so we thought that was cool for this subdivision. Most models are built true to price, so when you go in the home, usually what you see is what you get for that price.
And let me further expand. If it's a standard base price, basically what they have homes where there are few upgrades, maybe no upgrades and maybe few upgrades. So that's what that means.
We actually do a lot more better than this subdivision, other than just these 2. But again, better price per square foot. We built a 2012 code. We just see that as a really strong component of what we do.
And it has been a huge selling point with I'd say virtually every single person who's come through come through for me, and even when I was at Kensington Farms. It's the Inspired build and the way they do it is a huge selling point.
A few other things that I kind of wanted to just touch on that we do better. We have better marketing. There are flyers. We have packaging for our flyers. I mean, I think that we do a good job in so many more places, but anyway.
Including being on site, because the times we went out there was no one there.
There was no one there that we could get information, so that was a strong
And that was
thing.
multiple times, different hours, different days.
So their disadvantages is that they do have few lots left and no more to sell there. They had these, can you go back to that picture and show him? See those power lines behind that house? Okay, so they go along the whole side of the street. I mean, behind all of those homes on that street. So we saw that as a huge disadvantage to those homes as well.
In this community, there's 14 active new home listings. Average sales price around $319 square foot, $2,400, $125 per square foot average. In the last 90 days, sold and or pending new homes have been 4. Average sales price $310. 2,400 square foot, $127 per square foot average, which represents less than 1 sold per agent per month.
How are you getting that number of agents
We know how many agents are on site.
on site?
Yep.
On those 14 homes, is there an average listing day? I mean,
We can get that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we found
Well,
that.
here's one that might help, Corey might help answer.
Yeah.
This is zip code 66227, which is the reserve zip code. And you can see that, like that 5th bullet point, 51 days on market. And this is resale though.
Yeah.
Is what we're seeing as an average. But these are resale, not new homes. So there's 11 active. 348 again is this average sales price, around 3,500 square foot. Sales price, with resale, we expected a lower price per square foot average. This is 110. And then you see your days on market there. The resale listings sold and or pending in the last 90 days, this is surprising to me, was 9. I thought it would be higher. Average sales price 320, square foot 3,000, and again, we did expect to see a lower price per square foot. This is around 106.
And ADM, actual days on market, and CDM, cumulative days, is deceiving because it depends on when the agent's putting that in MLS. So it's hard to differentiate between those two, I'm finding.
Move on to Kensington Farms. We tackled this where I did the 2 stories and Justin handled the ranches. So you'll see 2 communities for each, specializing in those. In general, the client traffic, we saw that the average buyer for the 2 stories were young couples, usually with kids, dogs, looking for the open spaces, which Kensington Farms is perfect for. There was also 2 interesting demographics that I've seen. Like Jim said, see if it continues. One was the single wives, divorced. We've seen it with Angela King. We saw it with Kathy Nation and Linda White, who have all been interested in those low level ranches. The Spencer. We also seen the Moons and the Riddells in Kensington Farms, which are already living in Kensington Farms, upgrade to an inspired home. And for ranches, we would see a typical client. You want to explain real quick?
Yeah, if there's not another slide here. It's baby boomers, downsizers, retirees. As we discussed before, taking a little bit more time to make their mind up, a little bit more deliberate in their purchasing. Once they do, though, that's it. They've committed. So we get very few looky-loos. And when you get a be back 2 and 3 times, high probability that they're looking at your homes seriously. Versus, let's say, the parade of homes traffic in early 30s, late 20s. They may have visited 20 places that day, but if you see them again, like yesterday, I had to be back from Parade of Homes. That's promising traffic.
Are those buyers coming from the area, meaning like they've
Great
always
question.
lived in
Yeah, so I think we'll cover that a little bit later.
Are we attracting people from the metro because you can only get inspired in so many places at these prices?
So some of them are coming from just to a property adjacent from me, and I'm going to get to that in Fountains of Raintree. But some of them were already in the neighborhood. They're in too big of a ranch, and just too much square footage. They don't need it, and so they want to stay local because they're used to being there. Don't want to leave the neighborhood necessarily, but they want something a little smaller. So
I think one interesting data point is the single or divorced ladies that were looking at the Spencer Ranch. We've had 3 of those. The other data point is the Moons and the Riddells, who actually live in Kensington Farms. They're looking to stay in Kensington Farms and move up. So we're going to plan marketing initiatives around those 2, where we're going to actually do door hangers in Kensington Farms to see if there's other people that live there that want to continue to stay there. And then as far as targeting the single divorced women, we're going to send Kyle and Justin to the singles bars to see if they can.
I was just reining it in.
Well, I
I was
think-
thinking, when Kyle mentioned single lady, I'm like, I stole one idea from Dan. So Dan has the Inspired website on Facebook. The only reason why I rejoined Facebook is because I had to for Dan. So I took that idea and then I opened up a Kensington Farms community. After we do the door hangers, we're going to invite everyone to join that and then attend the HOA meetings, and that's going to be a great way of keeping up on the community and hopefully getting some repeat business. When they're loyal to the community like that,
So you're talking about
That's-
a
it's going to be a closed group like what
A
we
closed
have.
group, yeah.
So I
That's a
used
good
your
idea.
idea, and I thought that's what I'm going to go ahead and.
And not-
They
not
do
only-
that at New Longview, where we're going to be putting on lots, and it's really made that community have a
We-
grassroots.
We do
kind
that
of-
in my condo building.
Yeah.
We're all part of that, and it's like,
Yeah.
who has an
Yeah.
electrician that they
Yeah.
use, or
Mhm.
I've
And
got this light fixture that I need fixed. What can we do with it? And it's a way to bring the
When you got
community
locked out
together.
of your condo, you said.
Yeah.
So it helped you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think probably some of the problems too in Kensington is that a lot of the people I'm finding, they don't even know when the HOA meetings are,
Yeah.
because there's a few people that have kind of hijacked that
Well, we have
HOA
one now in
process and they don't
January.
know when it's going to happen. So we
Right.
need to get
Right.
with APD and just say, hey,
It'll be a great way to, everyone who lives there obviously wants to see it do well and become populated, and so, hopefully we'll get in there and, you know, they'll invite friends and families to come. You know, if we, you know, have a presence there with Inspired Homes, they'll be able to refer friends and family and expand that way.
Well, let me peel the onion back one more layer. Sorry to use a terrible metaphor, but like, the Riddells and Tennysons live in the community, right? So that's level one. They want to stay in the community. The second level with the Riddells and the Tennysons is they're both tradespeople, right? One's a structural engineer, one's an HVAC guy. And so they're able to see the value of the build of the home. So we haven't necessarily, the Bedines we were a little bit, but the quality of behind the walls meant more to them than it does to most people. And so that's something to think about. Have we cracked the common person yet or not? The other with, I think that it's common with all those, including kind of this single niche, is in a common thread in all those is the school district doesn't necessarily matter, right? Is that if they do have a child, the child is necessarily cohabitated somewhere else, or the child has dual custody, so they're not dedicated to the Raymore Peculiar Schools. Folks that are already living in Kensington have already made the decision that they're committed to the school. So I think we still haven't. We still need to continue to think of the school district as an objective, a challenge, something that we have to deal with, that we haven't necessarily cracked the mainstream on that yet, to say folks are coming over here. So I think that's good and bad. I mean, we're marketing the people that we like. We get people moving up in the community. That's all good stuff. But just like, why are these people buying earlier than other folks? One, they appreciate the build process. So, you know, you got a structural engineer and HVAC guy. Two, the schools don't matter necessarily to those folks. So the value of the home, is even greater to them because they don't necessarily have to switch schools for their kids. So those are other factors in terms of the buying process. The reason the early adopters seem to be going there versus kind of mainstream folks, which is fine. I mean, somebody's got to move in first, right? It's just a matter of what do we have to work on next.
Max, can you get those dates? Because I know a few have been set for 2015.
I haven't seen them yet, but I can certainly
for
get them.
Really, there's three communities, so Kensington Reserve and probably Whispering Pine. Obviously, Humford doesn't have any HOA meetings yet. But getting that out to everybody, so plan accordingly, because I think it's important. I think
Max, I have a flyer for you before I leave too on the
it
HOA.
will, maybe
Okay.
summer with the attempts at Kensington.
Yeah.
So, I don't think.
You're doing a good job.
Part of the problem is when there's HOA flyers, but there's no email that are given to the people, there's no phone numbers, so there's no way of contacting it and finding out when those meetings are. You mentioned Grassroots. I think that's important. I think when my mom pays $210 a month for her HOA, and people are so disillusioned with the HOA that they've just stopped becoming involved in the community, and they forget that their vote counts. They can make a lot of changes. So hopefully Colin and I can connect them with Facebook. I don't know what kind of challenge that's going to be. Some older people
We'll see.
getting on Facebook, but whatever.
They seem to
We'll
like
see.
it more than younger kids now. So,
Yeah.
So first community I wanted to talk about was Creekmore. I feel like this was one of our biggest competitors. They're as far as new home construction, they're a little bit higher price point. But as far as their community and their appearance, I thought they competed. Even though they're at a little bit higher price point, their amenities are so strong that they're definitely worth taking a look at. Some of the things they do well. They had a finished and staged basement, which was great. Their signage, which they had an abundance of signage. It was everywhere. But at the same time, what we do better is ours are more accurate. I found when I went in there, I've been in there multiple times, it's confusing to get there. Their model is at the very back of the community. And so you have to go through the whole thing, especially for new people. They can get lost, it takes a while, which, in order to take them through the best process, most favorable thought process, you don't want people, frustrated when they walk through your door. Some of their amenities I was talking about, there's an 18-hole golf course right there. The elementary school, which we send our family's kids, is right in the community. And they also have a large product range. So anyone who's looking to improve, to upgrade, product range as in price. They have a large price range.
What is the golf course?
What?
What's the golf course? Is
It's-
Creekmore a golf course?
Yeah.
It's not the name of
It
the
is?
golf
Yeah.
course. It's the.
I don't know if it's 9 or 18, but
It's 18.
18.
It's a championship golf course.
Okay.
We have a handout.
Yeah, you can,
We
I'll
can
take
give
check
it
it out
to
in a minute. Also, what we do better, I believe we have a better location as far as being right off 150, the Missouri 150. It's off Ward Road is a much more navigable part of the area. As far as new home listings, they have 8 active. Their average sales price $310. Average square foot is 2,300, and their average price per square foot was 133. Listings sold pending in the last 90 days there was 4. The average sale price was 312. Average square foot was 2,400, and their average price per square foot was 127. The next community was Belmont Farms. It's right across the street on Missouri 150. It's a very comparable 2-story homes, 3 to 5 beds. Range is about 230 to 300, which is very, very close, if not exactly the same to Inspired Homes. Average price square foot was about 2,000.
Something worth noting on Belmont Farms is early in the process, we did have a buyer who bought a lot in Belmont. They wanted to build an Inspired home in their Belmont Farms lot. So they like the Inspired quality is the point. They just happen to have a lot in Belmont Farms.
Not a lot of good feedback coming from Summit Homes, just to let you guys know. Rob Ellerman does an amazing job marketing it. To me, one of the best people marketing in all of Kansas City. He's what, number 1, number 2?
2.
But the quality of Summit Homes, not getting a lot of good feedback.
If they have an advantage, the only advantage is that they have an incredible amount of spec homes. I've been told by Jim Humbert that they have over 70.
They do have a lot of specs.
And so what I heard yesterday,
They're closer to 100.
A lot.
100 now?
Yeah.
what I heard yesterday from a broker, to let you know, 2 brokers told me that the bank is leaning on Summit Homes to dump their inventory by, I think, January, February, by the first quarter at least of 2015, for whatever reason. So they're trying to, there's going to be a market glut of Summit Homes. I had no information behind that, but that's what I heard from 2 really credible sources, one of which was involved with Rob Ellerman on a deal.
Well, I punched the numbers yesterday, and I'm figuring they're paying over $100,000 a month just to keep that inventory out there on a conservative level.
The word on the street says 50% of their homes that they sell are specs, more than 50%. So
That's kind of their thing, right? We can get you in a home today.
Mhm.
I think that's
Move-in
kind of their
Moving ready.
moving.
So continue, what they do well, they have a nearly completed subdivision, which can appeal to some people who want, to have neighbors immediately, kind of feel involved. A lot of people, kind of want what you can't have, and so it's the last people in that community. Arguably, if they have even better location off Missouri 150, just because it's right, I mean, you literally turn off 150 onto it. But, you can say that I believe Kennington Farms is actually even better because it's not directly on that traffic of Missouri 150. It's away, it's a lot more peaceful. What we do better, we have more open space. Belmont's very compacted. And we have the appearance of homes, I believe, was much stronger in Kensington. Active new home listings, there was 3. The average sale price was $319,000. Average square footage was about 2,700. Those were at the high end. They're bigger homes there. Average price per square foot was 121. Sold pending homes, new homes in the last 90 days. There was only 1. Average sale price $350. Average square foot 2,700, and average price per square foot was 126.
And so that 3 and 1 is a function of the fact that they're almost full, probably.
I would think so. Yeah, that's not a big community.
Yeah.
How many lots do they have remaining?
I believe 5, and I believe there's spec homes built on 2, or at least in the process of being built.
So Fountains at Raintree is just adjacent to my property. So to me, it's a great segue into our property, because when I direct people over to Fountains at Raintree, they're impressed with how much they can get with us versus Fountains at Raintree. It is, so it's kind of a master plan community. There's 2 stories there, but what I focus on primarily were the maintenance provided aspect of it. So similar in square footage, 16 to 1,800, but they're still falling short of the Montelena at 1,900, so they're nowhere near what the Montelena has to offer. One builder, it is Glenn and Mary Jones. She works for Reese Nichols. Tight-knit community, so that's one of the pluses. I'm going to kind of point to that to the next slide, but that gives you an idea. 290s to 400 plus, so Summit's building in there as well in the 2-story range. 11 lots left, so they're at closeout phase right now. They've done fairly well there, good reputation. 13 new ranch home sale in 2014. I think Corey, you asked that earlier. Average selling price $301.65. So they're not really in the same price category that I'm at. So I've had to fudge on my numbers. I'm just going to let you know the next two, this one and the next one. But they're so close to us, and I'm getting so much traffic for them that I felt like it was incumbent to include them. New home listings. Right now we have 5. Average sales price nearing the 300 mark, which is just perfect for us. So, average price per square foot is $170. I'm hovering between $129 and $135 with my 3 ranches, so not even the same. Included features between ours and theirs are very, very similar. It would be one thing if we were coming in at carpet and VC and no hardwoods, no granite. It would be kind of that lost leader home that people are marketing nowadays. That's not the case. So similar features, and again, average price per square foot $174.
And they're selling $18.90 as their HOA.
Yeah,
That's maintenance provided,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah,
maintenance
that would have to
provided,
be.
but people
No,
are
no.
still balking at that. They hate it. And
Well,
they're
yeah.
having problems with.
So what does
with
that
it.
maintenance provided mean?
So maintenance provided is
Is it irrigation or is that?
it is irrigation provided.
Okay.
So that's part of it. Yeah.
So lawn
so-
care, snow, irrigation, common areas.
Yeah, it's pretty inclusive. So I mean, they're not being chintzy, but it's still 146 a month or whatever it is, 1890 a year.
Yeah.
So it's a little high. So people are wanting to migrate away from that.
Can mow your lawn a lot of times for $1,890.
Yes, that's what I tell them. I'm like, how?
$30,000 of purchase.
I'll mow the lawns for you.
Exactly. And well, not only that, but now we're at a higher end price point. So
Yeah.
I can get a basement finish in the Montelena, a beautiful basement finish, and still come in less than what they're offering.
Right.
So what they do well, they're an established community, well known in the realtor world. They do have a private lake, which is nice. Maintenance provided has its ups and downs. I had to put it in what they do well because it appeals to some people. Their common areas are well maintained. Their trim finishes are high end. They have knotty alder cabinets, and they do that well. The amenities, just going back to the area, is nice. The close-knit sales center, it's the husband and wife or a team. She's a realtor, he's the builder. He's well known and respected in the area. What we do better, of course, HOA dues are a standout. Superior construction, their R factors are a lot lower than other builders around me. Nowhere near 2012 building code. Price per square foot, and then just lack of square footage. Their lowest model is 1,600, and so when you're looking at them, they're all 3-bedroom or greater, but the bedrooms are so compartmentalized. Some of them are 4 bedrooms. They're teeny tiny. They're apartment size rooms, and it just gives you this claustrophobic feeling. Home site availability, they are at closeout phase. We do have flexible construction mods.
Do they have new land? Can they add lots, or are they just?
They
done
can't.
So
That's
I
it.
mean, Their
That's
house
it.
is off market
Yep, that's it.
next year's time.
So what Glenn's doing right now, he's the super at a few other builders roundabout. There's a few other places that I saw him on site, and I said, Glenn, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm the super over here because I'm at closeout phase. So next slide, Parkbridge Manor. This is where I'm really far out on my price per square foot. However, it is the only builder within 10-mile radius that does 2-bedroom, 2-bath ranch construction.
Is this Alexander Creek? No. Did you go down there at all? Or?
I've driven by there, have not been in there yet. No. Alexander Creek was funny. Campbell, is it Greg Campbell, came in yesterday? He knows related to the
I think
Bowens
Celine
somehow.
Bill's down
He's
there too.
yeah, he does. And Mr. Campbell knew you. He asked for Dan.
Remember, yeah, that's
So, and he is thinking of building at Alexander Creek. That's where he's leaning toward. But he brought his sister in, and I'm trying to convert her over to us. So she does not like Alexander Creek.
No, he's not.
he's been in before.
He was an interesting guy. I won him over by the end of it, but he was pretty crusty.
Yeah,
He is.
Very-
He was
the
a pretty
perfect
crusty
person.
guy.
I have dealt with
I'm like,
him as
all
well.
right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you your space, and then I'm winning you over.
He
'Cause he was.
he somehow figured out he grew up a couple blocks over from the Bowens.
He threw that out
From Matt
immediately.
Yeah.
John. And so suddenly he's in the family.
You've experienced Mr.
Yeah, he
Hamilton.
came in. He's been in before.
Yeah.
He said he knew Dan. I was like, oh, you know, it's like talking it up. I'm like, oh, it's great. I talked to him. He's like, who?
He said, I know the drill. So Park Ridge Manor, it's nice because it's a master plan community. So people have the ability to transplant from the 1 million plus range to either an attached community or the villas, which are pictured in the upper left-hand corner.
Where's that at in the metro? I don't.
So Park Ridge is it's probably about 5 miles away from me. So I mean, it's really, really close. The funny thing is, I have not had one person come from Park Ridge Manor that said, what do you guys offer versus Park Ridge? But I'm getting that with Sienna at Longview and Fountains of Raintree, and even at Creekmore, they have a few, limited number of ranches, but anyway, they have a few.
Yeah, the only ones that ever ask me, you know, comparatively to a community is Creekmore. You know, people comment, oh, we were just at Creekmore, and it was, you know, that's the one. You know.
And Summit ranches are just horrendous. They really are. You take that bedroom, that compartmentalized feeling, and multiply it by 2 versus Raintree. So Park Ridge Manor, they all include 3-car garages, 3 plans, 8 builders. So they're not completely open. So that you can only use those 8 builders. Again, closeout phase. Here's the HOA, almost $1,700 per year. It includes less than Fountains at Raintree. So, but the nice thing is they can transfer within the community to a smaller unit. And from talking to Chartwell Realty, which is marketed very poorly by, we're finding people are downsizing from the 1 million and 500s to the attached or to the ranches. So they're definitely trading down versus coming in at a smaller home, of course, and going up. What they do well, again, a good reputation. Chartwell Realty doesn't do a lot of marketing, but they are kind of a local. So Chartwell and Baird Realty will migrate towards smaller towns, and they have this persona that we're the small town realtor, and so they're marketing heavily toward communities you had mentioned, kind of parochial yesterday. That's kind of their niche. Maintenance provided, amenities, wooded lots. It's a nice community. Because it's a closeout phase, it's a mature community, and so as would be expected, they have some floor there that the other communities don't. Convenience to highway, it's an awesome location. So that's one thing that a lot of people have asked about. Location to shopping is a little closer. You have all the new Target area up there by 3rd Street, and lifetime tile roofs. Believe it or not a lot of people have mentioned that. I noticed it because I think it's a big selling point, and then included 3 cars. What we do better, because of the proximity to the highway, you have a little bit more noise and traffic, and to an older community, that's not a plus. Lower HOAs, again, superior construction, affordability is found in the lower price per square foot. Home site availability, they're at a closeout stage again, just like Fountains of Raintree. And then hours of sales office operation. What I didn't find at Fountains of Raintree, I found here. It's just so spotty. Trying to even get information and cull this information together takes so much work because they're not there half the time they say they're going to be. There's no signage on the door saying this is where I'm at. No.
They don't have a laminator.
No laminator. No laminator.
Yeah.
So and
Has that made it to our strengths now?
The laminator. That is the laminator.
The joke is we have signs that go on the doors that are laminated that are like have a brand on them that say, they have like 6 different signs that say, I'm at a sales meeting, I'm working with a customer, I'm not here, these are hours, and we bought a laminator.
You bought a laminator. You did it yourself.
And I will say this too, if you're late for an appointment or the model isn't open when you say it should be in a ranch community, those people in their 70s and 80s, if you're not there, they are fired up. Their time is finite, so time is of the essence. So this is my resale, 190 to 250. I did a 10-mile radius because if I made anything, if I limited that, I'm getting a goose egg. So 2 to 30 years old. The selling price remained fairly competitive with mine because that's where I set the controls at, 224 to 250. That allowed me to include the Spencer and the Montelena with a few options. 17 to 1951, that's describes my ranches. 128 to 132 per square foot. So what we're saying here is I'm at 129 to 135, or you can buy a used home at 128 to 132. Where's your benefit with your deferred maintenance, with everything you're gonna have to do on that home? Why in the world would you want a home that's priced same category, and you can customize it, and you don't have fingernails in your carpet
And if you throw in a finished basement, you're driving that price per square foot
Yeah.
down even more.
Exactly. So we're averaging 30, 35 a square foot.
Yeah.
So people may balk at that, and I say, well, you're paying 129 upstairs.
Yeah.
Right.
So how about paying a fourth of that?
Yeah. Exactly.
And also, it's built between 74 and 2014. Some of these are, 30 years old. So if you want that, that's fine. But
the older it is, the more work you have to do.
Yeah.
Are the 80 sales,
efficient.
Justin, or is that over the course of the last 12 months? Is that the time frame, or was it 2014? What was your time frame for that?
That is the last year.
Last 12 months?
Yeah. We didn't go 90 days on that, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Because so I did both. But again, if I went 90 days on a lot of these things, I'm finding very few.
And was that all of Lee Summit, or was it a specific
That's a 10
geographic?
on the resale. I did a 10-mile radius. On my new construction, I only chose Lee Summit. So I mean, I have some competition in Raymore and Peculiar, but I didn't go that far south. So my new homes, it was only Lee Summit. Resale, it was a 10-mile radius that we did.
Okay.
Which is it's a big span.
Yeah.
That's a large area.
So
And
for
some of those areas aren't even competitive.
It's a good depth of market, though, from what we've seen in other locations. So,
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking, because I'm interested in that number.
That 10
especially
mile-
as competitive as we are with product.
Yeah, and that 10-mile radius takes you into the hood, quite frankly. I mean, if you go west 10 miles, you're in an area that's not as geographically desirable, I think, as ours.
More general in the zip code, active resale listings, we found 27. Average sale price of those 27 was $263,000. Average square footage was 2,700. The average price per square foot was about 100, and the average day on market was about 131. Obviously, there's some outliers in there. Resale listings sold pending in the last 90 days. 31 sold and pending. Combined average sale price $240,000. The average square foot was 2,700, and the average price per square foot was about 98. For spec homes in Kensington Farms, what we have left, we have 5 spec homes left. Talk a little bit about how we plan to sell. Existing leads, I know I personally have 2. I have 1. We talked a little bit about family members, and I actually, one of the 1411 Salee home, the same realtor and the aunt of the person who lives there, it will be coming back this weekend to check out one of the Lambie homes. That is the first lead. We also have a young couple, hopefully coming back in a few months to check out one of the Salee homes. Also specific marketing, we want to get these sold, we want to get these spec homes out, and so we people like realtor targeting, so like Tanya Gargata, who was the one who sold the Salee homes, and hopefully that Lambie, going to her and hopefully emphasizing, who's been so obviously good to Kensington Farms, helping is an incentive for her to bring more traffic just for her into Kensington Farms. We also want to do a home of the week where we have a board inside one of the homes, and it will rotate one home every week to drive traffic specifically to that home.
Open houses too.
What Nate and I talked about yesterday is just getting a few of the pictures together, and then there's an email service for $20 to $25. You can pick a geographical area that you want to target, so east and then maybe central Johnson County, because that 150 is really Santa Fe. If you stay on 150, it turns into Santa Fe, and so it's a nice corridor for traffic. So for $25, you can mass email thousands of realtors. It's super cheap. Nate and I were talking with one of the open homes that I did. I wanted to only use the service so that I knew everyone who came into my open house only heard about it through the email service. I didn't hand in any flyers, I didn't give any presentations, didn't tell anyone about it. So when they came in, of course, we'd ask how they heard about us, and it was through this email. Because I'm a little skeptical about email blast, because a lot of it goes in your spam. Do people really respond? For $25, I got probably, I think we talked maybe 20 people who came in. That's inexpensive marketing. So I think exposure is key, and these spec homes out there, I think that would be a great way to do like a progressive tour. I love tapas, so if we could have some sort of very, very simple appetizer at all 5 of those models.
An open house for
yeah,
that
so
to kind
we
of,
have
you know,
we have 5 on your side, we have the ranch on my side, and you have to go all of the ranches. You can get either, yesterday when we had the little luncheon with a couple of the brokers, they said, you know, have you guys thought about having a poker hand where you were given a card at each home? It works well with the 5, and or have you thought about having an entry into each of the boxes? The more homes that you tour, the more chances of winning. So we gave away a couple quick trip gas cards. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It doesn't have to be an iPad or anything, but that certainly does draw people in your email blasts. I will tell you that.
some ideas
Realtors
to drive
like free
traffic.
stuff. So
And I don't know, I don't know what kind of resources you guys have now, but I know that MLS photographer that we used is super cheap. And people really like the photography she's done on our home. So I don't know if you feel like you have adequate photography.
I think it would be good to do just to update and refresh the pictures.
Right, especially with one
Photos
of the
are huge. If you get bad photos,
And I mean, you're talking $150 a home, you know, to do it. And she took what, like 30 pictures of
Yeah.
each home. That may be something too that you guys want to refresh to get those out there. Have her come out and reshoot them all.
Immediately.
yeah.
and the one in the corner just converted back to
Yeah.
a home, so the garage is up there, and so many people can't visualize what it looks like, you know, when it's the office. So, you know, another excuse to, you know,
It
get
looks more
photos
like a
out
home
there. It
than
looks like
a
a home.
center.
Exactly.
And a lot of people didn't know if it was even for sale because
Exactly.
it was a sales center at one time.
So on the marketing end, we go into our Sammys.
So, pardon me while I get a little hippy dippity here, but so we went with short term and long term. I plant things. I like growing things. This is my Chinese amaranth, and from planting to germination and harvesting is within 30 days. So the application is used in a lot of climates where it's used to feed poor people. So our sales and marketing initiatives, sales associate marketing initiatives, we wanted something short term. And that should be commensurate with the money that we spend. It should be something easy, cheap, that we could see some short-term growth. How we do that? Realtor outreach. The people that they're bringing in are already pre-qualified. It's a soft sell, like with Jack Boyd. I thought Jack Boyd was an employee of Inspired Homes when he came and visited my ranch because he was so sold on our product.
Yeah.
So, police, fire department. We have a Hometown Heroes program that I stole from someone else, so I can't take any credit on that, but it's really inexpensive. We get a flyer together, send it out to a few of the fire stations. I visited 2 fire stations, got a good response, but no bites yet. Young Professionals Network, it's a nice way to meet people. I think it's an excuse to drink, but whatever. I've went to a few of their meetings this last month. Chamber meetings, I went to 2. There's 2, Baird Realty, for whatever reason, holds a lot of their chamber meetings at Baird Realty, and it's a super tight-knit group. I've never been to a tighter knit chamber meeting. It was a little intimidating just because it was obviously that there's a lot of people there that were longtime members. So, but I think it's a good way to introduce yourself, and especially if it's at Baird Real Estate Office, it's perfect. Ribbon cutting notices, I haven't been to any. I think it's okay if it's usually they're before opening hours, before 10, so you can show up, say hi and goodbye. And then the door hangers, the 3 neighborhoods that I want to hit are Lakewood, not because they're my competition, but because it's a mature community and they're older people looking to downsize and come into ranches. So I want to hit Lakewood. Dan and I have talked about that. Fountains of Raintree, and then I want to hit Kensington Farms.
Obviously, to attack the people who already like the Moons and the Riddells to upgrade from the homes they already have.
Yeah. So this is my Uva ursi seed. From planting to germination, it's around 2 years. So a lot of people look at the Uva ursi that's used in medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and say, I planted that thing 6 months, a year ago, a year and a half ago, I should probably throw it away. What's it doing? Well, unbeknownst to the person who planted that, there's growth underneath that dirt. A lot of people wouldn't have the patience to let it come to fruition, but I think long-term sales marketing, sales associate marketing initiatives are well worth the time. It takes a little longer, might have a little bit more of a capital investment, but educational classes, we talked about maybe having people come in and picking up the tab for Realtor Continuing Ed. That's really goodwill. Realtors would love that.
The great thing about that is that all realtors have to take continuing ed. It's just a requirement. You have to pay for it. And we think the investment to have Brad Barker come out, who's the top guy in Kansas City, actually do on-site realtor ed at the Inspired models. We think we could draw a very decent crowd, and during the break times can actually talk about Inspired homes and the benefits of Inspired.
What's that cost?
I've sent
Typically
an
it's
email
going to be
out,
about
I haven't-
$75 per head.
and then whatever the speaker is.
Well, no, usually that's incorporated into it. It'll be a per head cost. We think we can get 25 people to 30 at a shot in a model, and they had to do it not only for Kansas but Missouri as well.
The alternative to that, I'll just let you know, if you have MLS, you can take online classes for free through MLS.
Right.
But a lot of a lot of the agents are a little older, they don't want to take online classes. So when you have an instructor come in, there's no test at the end.
Yeah.
You literally sit through that 4 hours or whatever it is, and you go home. An online test requires you to pass that. If you don't, you're looking at an expired license. So I think that's a good way.
And we could even offer it at a discount. I mean, instead of picking up the full tab, we could do it at half price, where
No,
we
no.
subsidize part, whatever. But the point is, it's a nice.
We've talked about this. Don't limit yourself.
All right, we'll pick
It's
it all.
goodwill. I think it would be great.
Free
And-
continuing
and
ed for all of Kansas City.
have you been on MLS too and looked at the classes?
Mhm.
They sell out quickly.
Very quick, especially the required.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
The
Right.
required
And they're
license
free,
ones.
so everyone likes that. So preferred employer partnerships cost nothing. It's just a flyer. We have Cerner by us. We have a few hospitals. An amazing way of partnering up with someone, and then in lieu of like a $1,500 realtor bonus that we're currently paying, offer that to the employer.
Yep.
And then at the bottom of the flyer, say not to be used in conjunction with any other offer. We want to give away $3,000 on our
Offer
homes.
to the employer.
We can do it any way that you want, but usually we'd offer that as a discount, or in
Yeah.
terms of even better, instead of a price discount, options on the house.
Yep. Because you guys have Kiewit, you've got Honeywell.
I was just thinking that this morning as I was
Mhm.
driving by.
Honeywell has got a million people out there.
You've got
Yeah.
Garmin. You've got
There's
Garmin out there,
there's
which is
so-
You've got Garmin, and then who's that big on the other side of 71? There's that huge employer. I don't know what the heck it is.
yeah.
I'm
It's the government. It's straight down 150.
Yeah,
It's
the nuclear power, is it, I mean, the nuclear, is it Honeywell too, a piece of? part of
Honeywell's
there?
over there, but what I'm thinking of is it's a massive building.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
right off 150. It's on the north side.
Yeah.
Spacing on the name.
Whatever that is, that would be another one.
Yeah.
We
that would
also
be
need-
I mean,
ideal.
that's what used
That
to be
would
on
be ideal.
Bannister, right? Are you talking about that?
Is
The
that where?
complex, they moved down?
Yes.
Is that where they ended up moving?
Yeah.
Is that Honeywell?
Yeah.
Is the
They
Army
do
Corps?
the nuclear,
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a huge hospital, Lee Summit Hospital too, which employs a lot of people.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be a great idea too.
Bridal shows. I know that sounds silly, but I've
Nope.
attended them, and it's an awesome way. All those girls have their sights set on homes, and what was funny is there was maybe the 2 bridal shows that I've attended had about 3 builders, and you're loaded up with people. It's great.
I've always thought it would be an amazing idea to be able to set up a registry and have granite countertops, 42-inch cabinets, banisters as part of the registry, and people could donate money towards their options instead of buying crate and barrel
That'd be
gifts and
great.
things like
That'd
that.
be great.
That would be.
I've never executed on it, but it's been an idea that's been out there for a couple of years.
It's a good
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
And then internet opportunities, being able to blog and reach different clients within the area, within the communities. And the blog is more of a building goodwill, and the sales part kind of comes on the back end. So you're not pushing the sales in people's face. You're more blogging about different topics, the value of 2x6 construction, the value of a better insulated home. So you're giving information for free, and you're just letting it sit out there, and then you go back at a later date, and then you're pitching, hey, come out to Inspired Home, and we'll show you. We blogged about these values. You've read this. Well, now we can show you. So that's more of a, like you say, a long term. You're lining it up, and you're planting the seed, and you're letting it grow, and then you're gonna pounce on it later.
The next two things I want to address at the HOA meeting is one, getting people on Facebook and becoming part of our community, and then two, when they come in, I'm gonna ask that they all present some sort of testimonial, and so I can have a brag book. And the inside, I've kind of started it, but to get something, if there's something positive that they've enjoyed about the community, getting them to write that, email it to me, I'll put it in the book with their first name and last initial or whatever, so that we can open that up.
So a couple things on that. One, we blog every week, so we're all aware of that, right?
Yep.
And so I'm not sure how this interfaces with that, but we every week we post a new blog, and so
Who does that? I'm just curious.
what's that?
Who does the blogging?
I do. I mean, I do it with our agency, but so like Connie has a blog up there. Justin, you're supposed to have a blog up there as soon as you get back to them. So just be clear on how this interfaces with that blog, or what that looks like, because we already do this from a corporate or from a builder level, right?
Well, one of the things that we should think about from a Sammy perspective is other blogs.
Mhm.
And there are, Sammy is in large part thinking about where our target consumer group exists today, where they're at, where physically and virtually they're at, and going to them and drawing them in. And, some of the things that we were talking about is if you've got kids or, your target consumer group is heavy families, then you would want to go on maybe the mommy blogs.
Mm-hmm.
And you would go and you would start interact in those mommy blogs with some different things and integrate yourself into that community, and then say, by the way, and it's real soft suggestion and that's marketing, right? Because that's raising awareness to in front of a very consolidated group of our target consumer group. And so when I see internet opportunities and blogs, I'm not thinking, in my mind, I didn't go to writing a blog. I went to, okay, you're gonna go to blogs that are more relevant to our target consumer groups and interact in that community and make recommendations to draw people over to the community.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I was referring to. Is more, there's thousands of blogs everywhere, and there's several that would be great opportunities for us to go in and just, like Nate said, just participate.
Yep.
Just be a part of the discussion, the conversation, and then eventually, people will ask questions. Well, how do you know this or that? Oh, well, because I'm over here at the reserve,
Right.
and we represent Inspired Homes, and so that is kind of the
Here's an
direction.
example, just so it's really clear. There was a grocery store that had a very high amount of people that we felt like were our consumer group, and so we would go on to the grocery store's social media and onto their blogs, and we would start asking questions like, hey, does anybody know what the best type of bread is, and blah blah blah, and we would start this conversation, get some people interacting, and then at some point we would say, by the way, have you guys checked out that community that's down the street? It's awesome. We just came out of there, and they have some things I've never seen before, and that's it.
Yeah.
But we kind of integrate and then make the suggestion to raise the awareness into it, and it works.
Yeah.
I mean, it works again, the goal is this is small ball, right? And so we do a lot of this stuff knowing that it might generate 1 extra traffic a week. Compound that over the 52 weeks, you've got 52 extra traffic for every sales associate that's dedicating their time to marketing every week. That's the idea.
Yeah, and I think that's great clarification. So when you guys come back in 3 months, it's like we don't have this kind of large idea of, all right, well, we've lost all the salespeople now. Sorry. That's okay. If we need to stop, we can.
We're losing
I
juice.
have like
So
20 minutes of juice left.
Okay. No, I just wanted but if nobody's listening, then we might as well stop. But what I'm saying is just that clarification that when we come back in 3 months, the report out is I've interacted with these 10. That we're clear about what that activity is, as opposed to this kind of internet opportunities, which is great. But it's like we at a corporate level are blogging, so we've got that covered. From your guys' perspective, this is what this means: is I've interacted with these 10 blogs. I'm an active member of these things because of this reason. That's just the clarification that I wanted on that bullet point to understand what you guys are specifically doing there.
There's no cost, which is nice. Like with Inspired Homes, they'll post something I saw before Thanksgiving or in Christmas. What are your plans? So it requires a little bit of updating, but zero cost.
Sure.
Which is nice.
All right.
So we did a SWOT analysis, and several of these are similar. Some of these pertain specifically to a community, but the vast majority are just apply to both communities. Strengths, local company, builder, and sales team. We believe that's a major strength for Inspired Homes, because people do ask that. They do. I have had that question several times. Are these guys out-of-state builders? So as soon as you say no, they're local, you can see the sigh of relief. They're like, oh, that's great. So that's a strength. Superior construction, we've talked about this extensively. The included features are we see that as a major strength. Being able to offer both ranch and two-story construction is a huge advantage for us because we do have clients that want both products. This is a strength of 3% buyer agent commission. This does help drive realtors to our community. They know that they're protected. They know we're not trying to do an end around. So that is a strength.
And just let me be clear, is that unique to us? I mean, are there other builders that are not offering 3%?
They all offer 3%. But the thing is, what they I don't want to even mention the builder, but I had an incident a few months ago where I had a buyer that was looking at this is a reputable builder, an amazing product, probably the largest builder in Johnson County, and they took my client and said, if you don't have a realtor, I will give you his commission in upgrades.
Okay.
And I lost that person. So that's not as common as you think it would be. Reputable builders will not do that, but this one did. And I would never ever take my buyer back to that builder again. And it's a good way of ruining your reputation.
And sometimes it's not a function of the builder; it's a function of the agent on site.
Could be.
As a lot of these builders, they may hire Reese Nichols, and that Reese Nichols person will do some. Not saying Reese Nichols in particular, but any franchise might try everything within their power to steer that client around and not. If they're brought in.
A lot of agents are aware of that, and so instead of them coming in with a defensive stance, trying to, protect their clients, they're able to be more comfortable sending their clients without them. So we're on their team.
That's a good point.
Got it.
Price per square foot, again, and 90-day build, we put with explanation in there because we don't want people to see a price per square foot could be a double-edged sword, so can a 90-day build. People can see it as, oh my God, you build a home in 90 days. What corners are you cutting? Price per square foot, same thing. What are you guys cutting out? How can you possibly do this? So we put with explanation because when we talk about price per square foot in 90-day build, we go back and tell them the reasons why. And the reasons Inspired's able to do this, that there is no cutting corners. You are getting a superior product. And so that's why we have that in there.
And we use that as a tool too. So I know when I say we have a 90-day build time, when it comes up, I'll usually pause, and then they'll be like, majority of the time they'll be very confused, like how the hell do you do that? And that grabs attention. They're interested in the product. They're fully attentive as to what you're going to say, and then you'll be able to go into this explanation of the process, in which that they're intrigued, that they're listening. So.
Yeah, I mean the price per square foot is good. We use that a lot to just compare on what's going on. But I always get nervous if that's being used because that is just, a way the price always goes down from there. Like no one ever compares it so they can pay more. You want them to, if you're building a premium product, you want them to come in and see, then make the price comparison to whoever you're competing against and see that value. But not always just right off the bat.
We are careful of that. I think we use it more towards the people who are very numbers oriented, who want to see those financial hot buttons, the investment hot buttons, who want to see on paper exactly what they're getting, exactly the numbers. And so we use that's when they come into play the most. And we tell people, okay, you see our price per square footage. If you're going to shop somewhere else, whether before or after, here's our number.
I think long term, you want to just get to the point with Inspired where people want to pay the premium to live in an inspired home, and so we're always going to be competing against ourselves or hating ourselves. A little
People
bit.
don't care what it costs until they value what it is that they're buying,
Mhm.
right? If I told you could buy something for $100,000, do you want to buy it? No, you don't, because you don't know what the hell it is.
Right.
So they don't care. So I think that when we've talked about this before, but that it's not a lead out, right? That's not our leading USP
Yeah.
is
Right.
price, because
No,
you
no.
devalue the product completely
Mhm.
if that's the case,
And-
right? It's an oh by the way, and it's something they uncover in and of themselves,
Mhm.
and it's not lasting forever because eventually the market understands the value that we're putting in,
Mhm.
and that pricing becomes premium because the product is truly premium.
And the way, so a couple points on that is, the way that I've heard Nate explain it, that these guys explain it, which is great, is, you got to take them through the benefits of the home and the construction. That price per square foot is a result of efficiency.
Yes.
It's not a result of process, right?
Right.
It's a result of our ability to build the house efficiently because of what we do. And so until they understand we do all this stuff in the home and you get a price per square foot, the reason you get that price per square foot is because of the efficiencies that we gain, not because of the way that we build the home.
Yeah.
The second piece of that is like we have to your point, we have a comparison shopping guide that we hand out that we've actually retooled so it's larger so people can read it. In there, it has your ability to, so it's a piece to facilitate someone shopping. So even if they're not buying Inspired Homes, in there's a calculation that we make them do by hand with us and other builders, so they create their own dollars per square foot. So we say, this is probably something you want to look at. Take the price, take the square footage, and you do the math yourself.
Hard to argue with your own advice.
Yeah, and then when they
Really.
get there, that's kind of what you're talking about. We lead them to that point to say, I discovered the price per square foot, not I'm selling his number one standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And cost,
that's a
cost
good
versus
point.
value too. Cost is short-term, value is long-term benefit.
Yep.
And in any cost-benefit analysis, you've got to take that into consideration.
But, and if you're selling, I'm not the market person, but if you're selling emotion and that kind of thing, as soon as you switch to the per square foot, you go back to like a commodity where you're just comparing widgets, and we're really want to get back to the emotional side. And I think if we're wanting to get to the point where we get the margins we need and want, we want to, have people eventually pay up for that.
It's a simple calculation that I think
Live
most
in
people are doing
Inspire
anyway.
and in the community.
What's that?
It's a simple calculation I think most people are doing anyway.
Yeah,
Price
well, I
per
know
square
that,
foot,
yeah.
so, like Kyle mentioned, might not even have to, I don't put a dollar amount on it anymore, because I think we are selling cheap when we're just putting that out there. And we're coming in kind of as a lost leader. Walmart will hold a sale that holds no value just to get people in the door. And to your point, when you're mentioning numbers like that, there's nothing emotional about that.
Right.
But
And if you convince someone they really want spindles or something like that, and you talk about it and stuff like that, they're set on it, and then you tell them the price. If they're already set on it, they're not going to care.
Well, and that's always a relative comparison, right? Where you're comparing square foot to everyone else. The emotional sell is I can get my dream home for this price,
Yeah.
right? That my dream home is within reach because of the way Inspired Homes efficiently builds. So there is a way to sell emotionally with price, but it's all about the dream is within reach because of because of the efficiencies Inspired has. So we, it's not like we're not a private jeweler who's like, oh, we don't look at cost, right? Like, I mean, people do care what the house costs,
Yeah.
but it's all about
it's what you're getting for what you're paying.
yes, yeah.
And that monthly payment, if you can speak the monthly.
Oh, Corey, you should
Monthly
see
is
what
good.
we got. The Sales Simplicity program, man. You enter in, you do taxes, insurance, HOAs, everything. As you're selling upgrades and the mortgage, the actual mortgage product that they got, as you're selling upgrades, it's automatically calculating your monthly payment on the left. So you're
Yeah.
telling folks, hey, this thing's $850, but look at your monthly payment, right? I mean,
For $2 more,
For $2
more,
you know,
great
huh?
countertops.
Well, that's good, but I think big picture, when we have this meeting this time next year, because we got a relatively new builder and we've got communities that have been distressed at some point, so we're fighting that, but I think a year from now, we want to be in a position where we've got people coming down the street from Creekmore or where have you that aren't just coming to our community for that.
Sure.
To see what they can afford, but want to come in and live in our communities and in these homes because that's where they want to be. That's your first choice. So I think that once you do that, then we can
and there's
more and
there is.
push
I mean,
prices up a bit to
there's always that trade-off of production building, right? So you're always, if I can afford a custom home, I'm probably going to want a custom home. So there's always that dynamic of saying that trade-off of like, what does a production home get me? It probably gets me in a home for a little less than if I build a custom home. But your point is exactly right, that if we can get there so they're choosing Inspired because they want to live in an Inspired home that happens to be a really affordable price, that's good stuff.
Different reasons for migration, definitely, but a lot of good feedback on your on our articles in the paper. People read those and they come in informed and they're just blown away by the 2x6 construction. And I always know when they've read the paper versus maybe even the website. They're quoting more from the paper, at least in my demo. I don't know if it's in Kyle's in the 2 stories, but so what you mentioned, different reasons for sales migration. Those people are coming in for the quality of the build, not because of the price point. Because they're willing to pay a little bit more for quality home.
Quality's huge.
Just to touch on a few weaknesses. One, we lack the flexibility of a custom builder, but as Ernie described it well, it's 80-20. 80% of the market we can appeal to. There's gonna be people who want a custom build. They're gonna want exactly the home they want. So, we send them elsewhere. We refer them to someone like Lambie Custom. Another is Elise Summit School. Not a big way around that. However, we do have taken steps like our ranking system to show that we're actually RAPEC is actually ranked higher. But I mean, I've actually gotten a lot less feedback from this. In the beginning, I had people comment Elise Summit or bust. I mean, they don't care what anything says, they're out. But I've had a lot more people saying that they don't mind that it's RAPEC, so but I figured we put that in there.
Some opportunities that we have are to finish the design center at Kensington Farms and get the one in the reserve up. We believe that's huge for everyone, and it's going to be a good marketing tool for us. And once they're completed, we want to do a realtor outreach program, bring them in, show them the design center. So that's an opportunity. Spec homes is an opportunity. There are people that have come to both subdivisions looking for a move-in ready home. So it'd be nice to have spec homes. I know we're gonna have several in Huntford, so it'll be interesting to see how quickly we can move those. Finished basement and a model is an opportunity. I believe we're doing that in Huntford.
Both.
Doing it in reserve?
No, both models.
Okay, yeah. Love to have one in reserve. I'll throw that in there. Kensington Farms and Reserve Grand Opening is an opportunity for us. We will slate those and schedule those, and we will do those toward the spring. Next one doesn't really matter because Dan addressed that, the interactive plat map. It sounds like we have something that's going to do the same thing. And then Justin had mentioned the prominent signage on 150 and Highway 71.
Yeah, the feedback I got yesterday from the brokers, we actually had some people at County Line and Ward Road, they actually went to the 2-story models because that sign says there's no model straight ahead. The only models are to the west of here, which is actually further from that corner. It's 100 yards from that sign to the ranches, and that street continues on a 1-lane, eventually dead ends. So there's really nothing down toward the ranches. So a few of the car groups got lost and went to the 2 stories and then kind of perambulated around into the ranches. But I think, and I'm not looking to steal all the signage, but I think maybe ranches this way, 2 stories this way, just trying to do a 50-50 here so that people are like,
big red arrow.
where are the ranches at? There's no ranches. The second thing, so our signs in my area said from the 180s. So assuming that's at the 189, because that's usually what builders will do, 189 to 217, it's a $28,000 discrepancy. That's it's a budget buster for some people, and then other people are just getting irritated. So I think we want to take a second look and just low 200s maybe, something vague, so we don't have to keep on. If we do have another price increase, which hopefully we won't, but if we do, low 200s I think would cover that, but 180s is I want to get that changed.
Just to mention a few of the threats that we see, the marketing awareness and ability to add input. We would just like to, maybe once the articles go out, it would be nice if we could kind of just proofread a little bit and see if everything is accurate. We noticed a few discrepancies in the newspaper, and we would get people out at the reserve thinking it was a community that maintenance was provided and a retirement type community, and they were upset to find out it was not. So that would be one. Low supply of walkouts. We just have very few, if any, walkouts at the reserve. We do know of a few communities communities, not in our school district, but a few communities that do offer the reverse story and a halves. We could do that with it would be easier to do the reverse story and a half if we had the walkout. So we see that as possible threat. Competition. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, we didn't get through all of those.
I was just gonna mention the spec homes.
Okay.
It would be rocking if we could have just maybe one or two going. I mean, I don't know what budget allows, but with all the spec homes that are up in all the subdivisions around us, it would be nice to compete with those as well.
What would you build for a spec?
Ranch.
Yeah, I would do a ranch with us. But
Ranch,
here's the thing too, if we saw more traffic wanting ranches when we first got on board, and
that's true.
our prices went up.
Yeah.
So we're not exactly sure what's gonna happen with that in the spring.
Yeah.
Because it could be a lot of older people that I saw were not ready until spring. So I'm expecting to see a lot of those people back in spring.
But
So-
since we have two model homes that are 2 stories, I still
Yeah.
think a ranch would be a nice
would
bet,
be
because
nice.
at least until it's sold, we could use it and walk people through and show them.
It's a
Which
field
is
model.
which is what
yeah.
we're doing right now with the Lambs. The Lambs is under construction. I've taken several people through there,
Yes, me too.
and we just use it as a model while it's being built.
I get a lot of traffic at Kensington coming
Yeah.
over from the reserve.
Yes, we send
Thank you,
people your way
appreciate
all the
that.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We
they-
love-
we've
we
been
love-
That's the
returning
only
your
referral
favor.
that I don't get any benefit from.
They don't
All
like it.
teamwork.
Oh, sure,
Teamwork.
come in. and-
I'm polite to your people. I take my time, but I get a lot of traffic.
We're polite to yours too.
That's-
In conclusion,
So I'm sorry, we still missed that second one on there. Sorry to. What is
But
maximize Sammy energy?
Maximize Sammy Energy is that our goal is to get the buyers to an emotional peak.
Uh-huh.
When we get them to an emotional peak, we want to keep them at the emotional peak and do everything we possibly can to close the sale at that point. There have been instances when we get them to the emotional peak, and then there's a delay in getting information back that they're requesting. And a lot of this has to do with before we had option pricing.
Right.
Now we have option pricing, so we think that will be alleviated. But
And fully alleviated
yeah.
eventually.
right, now with the counties, the people that want to build off-site, there's a delay.
Yeah.
They've been in
the
multiple
road.
times. They were at an emotional peak. We haven't heard from them in a little bit, so I think they're dropping from that.
Yeah.
So that's what
I
that
think
means.
they
Yeah.
really dropped.
And we talked about that a little bit last night at dinner to have that discussion a little bit more about. We had the discussion about when we go to request options versus how locked in they are, right? The idea of I need to price these 10 things out before I pick out a lot. Well, then we're running around with folks that may go, okay, well then we're just going to walk away. So it's like, at what point is it appropriate to then start requesting customs to say how much will this cost, how much will that cost, because that takes us time.
Right.
And it's like I don't, and not that we don't have time to do that for someone that's locked in with a lot reservation or that's really interested, but it's
Right.
like, okay, we price out 10 things. Well, the fact is they really don't want to live in the reserve, right? At the
Right.
end of the day, they really don't want to live in the reserve.
Right.
And so how do we suss that out before we go to the option, to make sure we're doing things in Nate's
Yes.
funnel order to say,
Yeah.
Well, and
Even after. Go ahead.
it's simple, right? It's somebody makes a request for a specific option that we don't offer, and you get through your process and your critical path, and you'll say, so just so I'm clear, because it takes us some time and some resources to go and price something out that we don't currently have. If I get this and it's an acceptable price for a year moving forward, then, and getting that agreement that says, yes, I'm moving forward, great. Well, why don't we go ahead and write it up contingent on that, so that I've got a little bit more prowess and urgency than to get this pricing back to you as quickly as possible. Get some commitment, because just because the customer asks doesn't mean it's a deal breaker or a deal maker. I can go ahead and ask you for all sorts of things. How much is a fence in the backyard? I want to put
Platinum
solar
toilet you
panels
can
on
put in
my.
there.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that I need it, want it, or it's the decision-making thing for me. And so to spend all this time going in and pricing out just because the customer has asked is a little bit amateur. We should be able to segment what's most important and get commitments around, because people are buying area builder, community, lifestyle, neighborhood before they ever buy floor plan features. So as long as those are all right, and get verbal confirmations that yes, I agree, this is what I want, and yes, I need this price in order to make an affirmative decision, but that's the last thing.
or that's one of the last things, here's some of my other issues that I have, then at least we know that when we solve these problems, we have a sale.
And it's a
Right.
great
And
point
then-
too, because if you don't do that, and if you just say, "Oh, I'll get back to you," they're like, "Oh, well, while you're at it, this, and this." And the longer that takes, that's more things to take, and that has more time for them to lose that emotional peak, for them to say, "Oh, well, maybe I should look somewhere else. Maybe should I just make sure?"
And
We want to keep
It
them.
might be just a stiff
Right.
arm,
Yeah.
right? That might be a way for them to
Well-
get away and not make any decision. And
Exactly.
you've gotta confirm, because what might have happened in the situation where they didn't even want to live in the reserve, they want to live somewhere else, or didn't want to live in Kensington Farm, is you would have said, "Are you ready to move forward?" Then once I get this pricing to you, they're like, "Well, we're not sure if we want to move on this lot or if it's something else." And you know you're not even ready to talk about features yet, because we haven't solved the area problem. So we have to go back up into the funnel and say, well, let's talk about that then and make some decisions on where you want to be, because that's going to impact pricing as well. And you go back and you get them dialed into that.
Right.
Then you go and say,
More
okay, so if it's
specific.
here, now we're making this decision in this lot, in this community, I'll get that pricing for you and you're ready to move forward. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yes, that's right. And then we move forward. But otherwise, we're spinning our wheels and wasting a lot of time pricing something out. We haven't solved the other parts to even get us into the part where it's relevant to talk features.
It's a reverse.
sense?
It's a reverse funnel
Right.
at that point.
Yeah.
Well, on this particular case that we're talking about in the
Which
Roca,
isn't good for your
was-
sales
Not good
process.
enough.
was out in Stonegate, and they actually put a lot reservation down in reserve. They are sold on the home, they're sold on Inspired, but they did not want to live in the reserve. So they were sold on everything, they just wanted a lot somewhere else, because the price of the Roca they felt would not sustain itself in the reserve, being the higher end, and they had about probably 30 or 40,000 upgrade that they were already doing. So then we're looking at that, and of course the price becomes different being out there. So we were just kind of waiting on all of that. So, you know, I mean, I kind of, with that, I felt like we had enough to know that they were going to move forward at that time.
Well, I still don't think we're there, because we're pricing out siding when they're not convinced they want to move in the reserve.
Well, we're not
right?
pricing outside. You said 8,000 on the site.
Well, no, but I mean
Right.
that was the thing, is we're pricing out, and then so we price out this deal, and this is a good example of the funnel. Is we price out this deal, and then they're like, well, now we want to move to this other lot where we have to pay. So there's this whole other cost thing that we
Right.
haven't solved. Can I afford this house in this community? And then it's like, okay, well, it's just this, you know, it's just that it. Do we have the base prices set before we're pricing out options for folks?
Use the words "just suppose" as you're building this for customers. I think that the idea is that you're sitting there and you're saying, and they ask you a question that you don't have a number to because it's a custom option. Just say, "Just suppose we do that, and the pricing is acceptable to you. What else?" And you immediately move past it into what else, and you've got a list of things and questions, and you say, okay, so all of those things, it looks like, you know, if we've got a hardy siding of some sort that's an acceptable value to you, and we can do the different style door that you're looking for, it sounds like that's right for the home. And as far as the home site is concerned, it's lot 13. Is that right? And you're summarizing and getting these agreements and using the words "just suppose" to separate the information that you don't have quite yet, and making it separate from the rest of the decisions that they're making. That way you can come back and say, hey, I need in order to get this thing, I need some pricing on some hardy siding and this different style door, and they're moving forward on lot 13. Because you've separated it by saying, just suppose that's good, and we find one that you like and it's the right price.
It's a
And I move
theoretical
that over.
proposition.
Right.
that
Yeah,
they
I didn't
feel-
say it was. I
Yeah.
just said just suppose, and let's separate that from the rest of the decisions so that I can get all of the confirmations and commitments that I need in order to make it viable for them to move forward once I do solve that problem.
And you're getting them to say yes.
Otherwise, you're all wasting a lot of time running around trying to get information that you could have handled and gotten to the root of the issue, which was I'm not convinced on the area, and we need to solve that before we can, because it doesn't matter what kind of door if I don't like the school district I'm in,
Right.
right? So let's get through that and make sure that we're sorted so that we can go to Dan and say, Dan, here's the 2 custom non-standard options that we need. And if I get this pricing and it's acceptable to them, I've got them contingent on those 2 things right now, and they're committed to this lot, they're moving forward. That's the ideal situation. So don't let features draw up muddy the big picture of commitments that we need to actually really have a buyer. If they're not convinced in the area, builder, and community, we don't have a buyer. But if they are, we do have a buyer, no matter what the features are. If I'm convinced I'm moving into this area, I'm convinced that this is the right builder for me, and I'm convinced that this is the community I want to live in, and you're the only one that's building in the community, guess what? You win.
Yeah.
So now it's just logistics, right? So make sure we've got those commitments before we dive into so much detail that we end up spinning wheels for customers that have issues that we didn't know we had solved, and use those as weapons so that we can solve those problems, right? You want this, let's make sure that all of this is right, and then I'll go solve this for you.
It's a soft reply too. It's a theoretical proposition instead of a car dealer approach where you're saying, well, if I can do that, will you sign here today? You're coming back with such a hard line at that point. But if you, I do like that. Just suppose.
I do too.
Yeah, suppose
We
that's
don't know
good.
if it can be done, but if it can be done, are you willing to go further?
And what that does is it sorts it in the customer's mind too.
I was guilty of that. I'll go ahead. I'm sorry, didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. I think, just suppose that the door style is right and acceptable. Here are the big picture things, and these are all right? We'll solve this problem here.
Right.
But if I convince you that the area is right, this is the school district where your kids are going to have the most advantage to get into great schools and further their careers and do better than you did, isn't that really why they're moving in that particular case with a family hot button? So if I come back even and say, you know what, we're not able to do those doors, but the great news is that this lot and this and this and this and all of these things are still right for you, so my suggestion is that we still move forward. I think that it allows you to separate and keep that objection out of their face and keep the big picture in front of them at all times. So use the word just suppose and just separate it.
Yeah, it's just figuring out this
How you do it,
process
right?
as we go through it. Because I will tell you how it works internally is we prioritize based on the likeliness of sale, right? So if I've got somebody, and I mean the ROCA, we're learning about what happens, right?
Right.
Is that like
absolutely.
they're in the reserve, they're bumping somewhere else, they might or might not be able to afford it. That falls down on the list. But I have a realtor call me yesterday and say, I want to buy these 6 houses. Can you tell me if these fit on these 4 lots? Right. So they're talking about specific floor plans on specific lots. And at that point, I go to Randy and I say, if you get this done in the next 3 hours, we're going to sell these houses. It gets done. Right. That goes to the top of the list because that's likely to go on the board versus, and it's most of the time not your fault. It's the customer going, yeah, I've got this question, or, I want to see every option, or I want, I may want to build out here, I may want to build over here. The fact is they're not ready to commit, which is fine. But then they just get a limited amount of information to us. So we don't go all the way through the spec process. And then they're like, we just decided we don't want to build for the next year. Right. I mean, that's what happens. But for us prioritizing internally, it's like, yeah, we can get all the information that we need, but whatever's closest to the end line is what's going to get done first.
Okay. In conclusion,
That's a great discussion to have. That's good stuff.
how to help us sell more homes. We believe Finished Design Center is going to help everyone, both subdivisions, all subdivisions, including Huntford.
When's that get done, or what's the?
We're supposed to. I mean, I think we'll have Kensington done by the end of the year, and they're building the. I think we'll have. So let me say Kensington by the end of the year, Reserve done by the end of January. But it'll probably
Is
be
the design center in the reserve?
Yeah, exactly the same, identical.
What models fit on which lots? We have some ideas of this, but it'd be nice. We've been in other subdivisions, and we have gathered some materials from some other subdivisions, and they have the spec sheets and the lot sheets there are laid out really nice. If really go into detail, you can have a walkout here, build a Spencer here, whatever. So that's
how do we
helpful.
do this?
Lot matrix would
Because
be
I thought
awesome.
we had talked about this and we were getting closer. We had at least all the information to determine this from the sales side. Well, what else do we need to make this happen? And this shouldn't be that complicated.
Is that not tackled by the CRM when
It's the walkout view out. It's kind of like that interactive map would even be.
So do you know what lots are lookout or walkout lots?
No.
We have provided that for.
So this is why I wanted to talk about this, because I know that I've been getting different answers from everybody. So
Sure.
we're all in the same room now. So Corey has provided lookout and walkout lots for Reserve, Kensington Farms, and Huntford.
Yes, and Kensington at one point it was just the released lots. I think that was kind of the issue where I thought Lucien went back and did everyone, because we had that discussion of what does
Yeah.
VO mean versus,
Right.
UI, like,
Right.
versus daylight.
Which you have, I'm sure.
So I thought we had done that, and then we had provided, I know for the reserve, the maximum width of the building plan as one of the columns.
Yep.
And I thought we did that for Kensington and Huntford, possibly not. But I thought from that point, then Inspired could put in, we know the max width of the Spencer, so therefore it fits.
Which begged the question
And
of
that would be
having
like
internal mini
99
blueprints in the other
99% would fit
communities
now. We
that
have a few
had.
that might not for,
Yep.
once you try to do a plot plan, you always find out if something will work or not. But for the most part, you could be confident at least with 95% of the time within those dimensions.
Yeah, so there's a sheet that I think you have as well, and maybe I sent it to all of you, but Corey has, and actually I think you're the one that sent it to everyone. So anyway, I've seen it out there that says at the reserve how wide of a home can fit on each lot.
We have a handout that will tell you the width of each lot. We also have the footings, width and length of each model home. So we can guess which homes will fit on which lots, but we don't know what our view out, walk out level,
Which I
if
believe
any.
it was on the same sheet, wasn't it? Or no?
Yeah.
I didn't see a sheet
See, I
that
believe
had that on there.
I was under the impression that we had the opposite, and that we had the list that had the view outs, walkouts, but not the width.
And that
of
might
the
be true
lot.
for Kensington.
And that's
You
what
do-
I think
you
as
do
well.
have that.
Yeah,
That's-
we have that
yeah.
at Kenzie, yeah.
That's the opposite, that's
Yeah.
true.
So we have the opposite problems.
Yeah,
where we're-
you need
Now,
to know which model's going
Kensington's a
which
little
one's-
unique because it was designed by Pulte to sort of put those widths in 3 or 4 areas, and so there should be guidance, at cottages. There's for ranches that are this wide and this long, fit in there. So,
Like in the HOAs or something?
well, there was, essentially 5 plans per TCG, they call them, that were approved. And so we have those plans, and so that would be what fits in those lots. I thought Lucien was doing that and had sent it on, but I can check on that one. But I know,
Well, somebody's gotta be point person on getting the lot fit. I mean, it's not, we can't sit here and do home site select with any certainty unless
Right.
we know, and so, you guys
It's
gotta be,
difficult.
you gotta be banging down the doors to get it set up, and all you need is, what's the maximum home width that fits on each lot, and what's the width of your homes that you're currently selling, and you can create this spreadsheet.
but also the plat maps are out there too, just on the depths. It'll tell you the exact depth if it's 135 feet, and then also it says it's a 30-foot front setback and a 10-foot back
Yeah.
setback.
Yeah,
You can get
it's,
that on Ames, but
it's not that
For the
simple on some of the
reserve.
lots because
Yeah.
of
It's not, and
irrigation.
it's hard to
Yeah,
commit.
I agree with Dan, you're
a
right.
A firm commitment is really, really difficult, and to be sure, you mentioned 95% accuracy. That's close for some people, but then other people, it ruins their world when you come back and say, oh, I was off or whatever. That's my hesitancy to commit to anything before I really know. We can do the math and guess, but even like with Ernie with the Bedines, we didn't know if it would be a walkout. We walked it with Ernie. We walked back there, and he said, I don't know if it's going to be a walkout or if it's a daylight. It might be either one, and then we got it back and kind of solidified it. But even with the builder back there,
See,
like,
but
we don't know. I'm just
again,
guessing.
all that stuff is so estimated because if you get an engineer to do that, they're just going to take standard numbers, right?
Mhm.
So they're going to say that this is a daylight lot because based on standard.
Yeah.
Here's the elevation. Here's what's
Mhm.
going on. But then you guys might come back and say, well, we're going to drop this basement an extra 1.5 feet because we want on this specific one not to have step up. It's straight on. Well, that's what happened at Huntford originally. Was the engineer used standard and Inspired came in and said, no, we're pushing each basement down 2 feet or something like that. So a lot of those lots switched from. So I'm just saying, the specific house is always going to have. There's going to be a percentage of
Variability,
5%. Yes, that
Mhm.
you just can't commit to, and so let me know what we can do to get as much information to you. But I don't know what you're referring to. That some of those subdivisions they're saying, but there's always going to be some ambiguity on those lots.
Yeah, because you don't see. I mean, you don't see the topography, right? So it's like
Right.
there's those 5 lots in the reserve, that there's an irrigation ditch running through the back of it that you don't see on the lot plan. So there's plenty of space on the plot plan. But the fact is, you can't set the house back more than 10 feet because you're going to be in a river. And so we can go through so in the sales simplicity, when we load lots into pipeline, we are able to set up rules to say these houses fit on these lots, right? And so when you go in and look at a lot, you can tell somebody, in theory, this is what fits on this lot. In theory, this is a daylight lot, but we have to do it. But the reality is, it's probably not 95, it's probably more like 80 in terms of your ability to sell that and actually come through.
Yeah, but you can get that 15% by if you understand the plat.
You can.
Tell you
Yeah.
everything on there to where you should see if someone says, I like lot 15,
Yep.
you can look at it and say, well, there's this easement showing.
You're
here.
right.
And I mean, maybe that's.
Or you're standing on the
Yeah.
lot going, this isn't going to work,
Yeah.
right? Like, this isn't. I can tell right now, it says it's going to fit.
Well,
This is a daylight, but I'm looking at the lot.
We
It's not.
should pick 15 home sites in every community, every neighborhood or every community, and have those be the released home sites, and know everything about the home site, what homes fit on them, if they're lookout or walkout, stand, walk them, know everything, and only sell those 15. And then once we sell a couple, we release the next 2 and do the same thing. And there should be a lot release process that gives us that information, because I'm not going to sell a lot and say 80% it's going to be a daylight. I'm never going to get a commitment from that.
Sure.
And I'm not going to sell a home site or a Montalena and say, I hope it fits, 80% it'll fit. They're not going to move forward.
Right.
I need to say the Montalena does not fit on this lot, it fits on this lot, and this is a daylight basement. Well, I want a walkout. Well, I don't have any walkouts, period. This is your opportunity, and I get to have them make decisions, but if I get wishy-washy, I don't get commitments, and I don't
That's when you
I
use
don't
the
get
momentum that we
confidence.
spoke about, I
Yeah.
think.
But is that something you changed the plat map for someone like
We
Kensington
changed
Farms?
by not releasing so many lots, because we have to be experts at 15, and the only way you can be expert is to have a limited amount of home sites that are available that we can all study and do. You can't have I can't tell you, and I can't ask Corey or Lucian or anybody to go out and engineer the entire Kensington Farms and tell us that.
Right.
Let's do them at blocks at a time and have people moving in around the same place so that they have neighbors and all the positive things that come from that as well. And that way we can be experts on those 15 lots, and that's what we're selling.
Like
I say that specifically for Kensington Farms because people come in and it's such a massive community and stuff, and you're saying, oh, you're telling me there's not. If you say 15, it's just be whether it's all in one place or there's just a few. So what about all these other lots? There's
Yeah.
something where you can openly see.
So let's
You're telling
role play
me-
it. Let's role play it. So object to me that way, and I will tell you. I will say, okay. So right now we're currently selling these 15 home sites.
Okay, so what about all these other lots? Why can't you
Yeah.
see that?
So actually, what we've done is we've decided that these 15 home sites are going to be the ones, because of the proximity that they are to each other. We want to build in certain areas at the same time. That way, when you're moving in the next year, you're not living next to construction. And oh, by the way, that way you're also getting customers and homeowners that are neighbors for you that you can move in instead of living on an island over here. It's more efficient for us to build in that cycle. Therefore, we're able to offer better values and better pricing. And as we start to release those home sites that are later on in the phases, that pricing is going to go up. So your opportunity on these 15 is to lock into our current pricing and be into this area and this mode where you're moving in with people right around the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how I would handle that. And people that object to it say, I want that one. Well, now who's in the position of strength? You or the customer? Okay, so if I can get this released, now I don't know if it's daylight or a walkout yet. I don't know if the home fits on that lot because it's not released. But just suppose it is released. Are you moving forward on it? Now we're not talking about price. We're not talking about devaluing the product. Now we're talking about doing them a favor by releasing a home site because we've got a process that is released in this area. And it gives you the position of strength that doesn't put you in a position where you're negotiating price. Now all you need to do is get a lot released. But now it's okay that you don't have all the information because, hey, it's not released. I got to learn this information because this home site's not released.
I think selection is less of a problem than accuracy because customers can deal with a no, they can deal with a yes, but when you deal with a yes and a no, you lost them. And there's a study done years ago that I wanted to mention earlier. It was right after the contract is signed, so they're on paper, their earnest is down. There is a plummeting of excitement that happens right after someone buys a home. They start thinking, buyer's remorse, what have I done? And you, as a salesperson, you see that they call in, they have all these questions, they're nervous, and you need to kind of calm them down a little bit. Well, if you're not even to that point yet, and you've given them a lot and then taken it back, they're out.
And to your point, I like the idea of having
that's a good idea.
a certain number. And if we do that, go that route, it should be a certain number where you have diversity. In other words, the provenance or the opus can fit on at least these 4 or 3, and the Montalina on this, so that it's not.
I agree.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple selections each, so a couple daylight, a couple full, and a couple walked out.
Yeah.
But releasing lots in groups is not uncommon. I mean, every builder does it. Some might release a window lot so that they can get some dirt moving, so people see that, like 211, or no, 221 is it? So
Well, I thought that was our attempt, the way we.
But
lots we
we're
chose
still
in different
having
areas
problems getting all
and
the
signage.
information
Yeah.
on those. So if Kyle has 15 that he's focused on, then he can talk to you guys and say, all right, I don't know, I got 12 of these 15 that I know are lookout or walkouts, but I don't know these 3. And Justin's saying the same thing. Here are my 15 cottages that I'm focused on, and this is the information I'm missing for these 15. And we can all become experts on them, and you guys are responsible to go out and get that information and create your sheet so that you've got a lot matrix.
But there's just all I was trying to say was that with Kensington Farms, there's such a diversity, even more than most subdivisions of lots, whether you're in different sections, whether you're next to a person, whether you're backing up to county line, whether you're backing up to Ward Road, all these, what direction you're facing, so it's not all those things matter, so it's.
I agree.
So.
I agree. So you've got to be able to have rationale.
Okay.
If it's groupings, if it's, we wanted to make sure we had something for everyone. And so that's the reason we had these 15 released and engineered, because we wanted you to have a section. If you were more interested in having a southern facing backyard because you want to put a pool in, then I wanted to make sure that I had several for you, and you were going to get neighbors just the same as somebody who wants the southern facing driveway so they don't have ice on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So who would be our contact?
For which part?
You. Well, for the lots and the 15.
We need to figure that out from our standpoint. I mean, we have the information from which, and we just need to, if we have a limited amount, we can then figure out how to do it. I mean, I don't think.
Well, I think at the reserve we released 25, so I mean, not 15, but I think that was a good number.
Yeah.
That's basically where the signs are. The signs
Yeah.
that were, those are the ones that we released
Right.
and tried to create that urgency and focus and funnel buyers to those. And we tried to pick lots that were one in groups, but then also had variety of widths and so forth.
Yeah, you had like cul-de-sac and things like that. that all
Yeah, there
matter.
was actually, believe it or not, some real strategy to this.
Yeah, no,
I started looking at this.
A flat or a full basement is not a problem seeing. I mean, honestly, you look at the Spencer and the Montalena where I'm at. Those are literally flat lots. I think the problem is when we're getting into the walkout and the daylight. And Ernie was talking to the deans. He's like, I can shove this into a walkout, but I mean that for me is the challenge. I can walk around, and I've done this toward the back section where Roush Coleman developed, and you can tell when you're sitting on a flat lot, 100%. I can say that is a flat lot. I will guarantee it.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at that slope between like 6 and 7 feet and around that area that can go either way, I'm confused.
And it's
I'm afraid to commit.
And it's so important for ranches too, because majority, I don't know what you've seen, most people with the ranches are looking for a walkout.
I think you can
Or not at all.
create a
Or
walkout.
they're afraid of the access point, so that they're concerned about security.
extremes.
I don't want an access point into my yard, so I
Two
don't
ends.
want to walk out. So I don't know.
Okay, so Dan, then I guess we'll just leave that with you, and
Yeah, I need to go back to Randy.
anything you need from us, let us know. I mean, that's.
No, I think we need to figure out from Randy and Luchin where we are, because that's where because Randy's the one putting the houses on the lots.
Here's what you guys can do though in the meantime is create a lot release sheet that you have.
A lot what sheet?
A lot release, so lots that are released, and it has basic information on it that says plan restrictions, and you don't have to have all this information, but let's just have a place so that when we get the information, we got a place to house it, and we don't have to ask again, that it's there, we get it, okay, we know that the Montalena does not fit on lots 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So lot restriction, okay, here's my column, Montalena, 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 Montalena. And I know that I can't put that now, and I've got that housed in some spreadsheet. So restrictions, plan restrictions, lookout or daylight, walkout or lookout basement should be a column, lot premium.
Which is
How's
another
that?
discussion we need to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
It would be foolish for us to say Tracy Cross says that the maximum lot premium is $5,000, therefore we can't charge more than $5,000 for any lot. That would be foolish because we'll end up with our worst lots at the end of the community and be in a really bad position. I will challenge Tracy on that, and I will say this to you all, that it would be foolish to do that. We should have some of our best lots priced premium very high. Period. Because we don't, people will compromise. Our goal should be to sell them the worst lot that we can, that they'll accept.
Yeah.
Really should
You're
be.
right. You're exactly right.
And
You want
because we
when
can
you're
always
in the
adjust
end of life
price.
of the development, you want to have your
You don't want
best
your-
lots
yeah,
left.
You don't want your crap lots left.
Well,
Yeah.
we've seen that, and it works on a smaller scale. At Kensington, again, there's so much out there
Yeah.
that it's tough to do that, but, Stonegate.
Sure.
We have a huge,
Sure.
I mean, we've got a $60,000 difference between the worst and the best lot out there.
But that's
It
Tracy's-
drives-
Tracy's point is you drive through Kensington and you should not be seeing 15 lot premiums.
Yeah, I mean, it can be narrowed
I agree.
down, but,
Yeah.
We want to use it to control.
the cherry picking.
Yeah.
And that's
Wait,
the main
that's-
component, so
And
if it's pushing down
Yeah.
the weighted price, it's fine.
I think that's so the things to think about there. I think that's fine. I think you limit lot release. You have an opportunity to do that. With lot premiums, when we've got 60 lots released, it's like, everybody should be able to find something at the base level, right? So I think we limit that. The other thing to remember on pricing is that we are, you put a lot premium on, and at some point we are from where we were before. We're now triple dipping because we're saying the base house is more expensive. We've added a premium to elevations, and then we add a lot premium. Right? And so unless you take a base house, if you buy a Craftsman or a Prairie, you're adding another $7,000 on a house, and then you add another lot premium. So just so we understand where the pricing goes, there's also that elevation premium that we need to have. And it's not just visual. You get a porch, so you get something extra. But we are pushing prices that when we say the base house is within the absorption rate where we want it to be. We're continuing to push up as we use premium. So suddenly you're
20 grand higher immediately.
20 grand higher.
Before you've even touched the interior features of the
I mean,
home.
this is what I go back to, I think we're talking the same thing with Tracy Cross. I had that discussion with him where you're just gonna get, at the end of the day, if you sell all your lots at 50 and have no premiums, and then you sell your A and Bs, it's the builder, the buyer, whoever's gonna come in and just quote that price and saying this lot is inferior to that, therefore it's 40. And so this is what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, I get that. What I'm saying is that we can always price whatever we want, right, and hope people buy it. What we want to do is sell 4.2 a month, not 1 a month, and that's what the pricing is based on. So if you ratchet based on premiums, you ratchet based on front of houses, what you have to do because of cost, we'll sell them. We'll sell them on a month.
No,
Right,
I
so
think
we-
it's
were you
not
talking
an
about
either or. I think
subjectivity
it's that spectrum, you just have to move that spectrum down on all the lots. So you're still having that range, right? So within whatever
You will
range.
run into a long-term strategy issue, and maybe we can't afford to think about a long-term strategy right now at the end, and that's acceptable, and I understand that. We should still have a premium and advertise 0 lot premiums for a period of time, and do it that way to drive some kind of focus that, hey, you can buy our best lot right now without paying anything extra. But it shouldn't be the long-term strategy, because eventually we end up with all road home sites, small crappy road sites, railroad track, whatever. And that's what you end up the community on. And now I got a sales guy that's sitting out there
Then you get
selling
frustrated
one
on
every
that.
other month, who then doesn't want to be there anymore, and it's impossible to close the community.
And that's fine, and creating that differentiation, it's the net dollars that you're talking about when you're adding, when you're subjectively adding $7,000, right? That affects your absorption rate, right? And that's Tracy's point, is that it's not a differentiation of lots, it's a net dollars that affects your absorption rate. So yeah, you can do it, you can add
Well, I think it's not
$7,000.
either, what I'm trying to say is, you have your range of lots, right? And you're always gonna have an average price, a weighted price. So if at Kensington, we'll use that example, if it's 40 right now, and that's a range of lots being priced at 28 to 50 or something, and we're saying these 50 are not gonna move, we need to change that range so the weighted average goes from 40 to 30, but we still need that spread, so you're still within that buyer range, having that buyer, make that conscious decision that there's more value taking a seal out of that. It's
So Dan, I think you're thinking that Mariner's trying to take all of the margin out of the premium.
No, not at all.
What he's saying is, let's make the differential, and if it's a $7,000 problem, then let's adjust the lots, but still keep the differential of lots,
Yeah.
so that our base lot gets us the absorption.
That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is a subjective spread of lot premiums affects your absorption rate. So if your spread to make people change from a base lot to a premium lot is 3,000, that's one thing, and that's going to affect your absorption rate. If you double that to 8,000, it's still going to affect your absorption rate more, right? Because there's still people that they can't find the lot that they want. So what he's saying is our lot premiums in general are subjectively set at a net dollar, and we have to adjust what that looks like. And it probably is a short-term strategy.
I don't agree, and I'll tell you why. Because you can look at it on paper and say that a $5,000 difference in lot premium is going to impact your pace. But I can tell you in the real world that if I have to handle the objection to a customer of, well, that's $5,000 more than I wanted to spend, I would much rather handle that objection than, well, you don't have any good lots available.
Mm-hmm.
How do I handle that objection? I'd rather defend $5,000 or $25 a month or 80 cents a day. I'd rather defend that than have to defend why you should buy that lot on the road that you really, really don't want.
Well, then do it, but don't do it on every lot, and don't do it for a high number, right? Let's protect 5 lots or whatever, but don't come in. What I'm saying is, don't come in with a base price that I then have to up. That's $20,000 more than it was before. That then I have to up to get a craftsman. That then I have to up to get any decent lot, right? So if I've got 15 lots, make 10 of them stay. In the distressed community, acknowledge that it's a distressed community. Most lots should not be premium, and protect the ones that you have, as opposed to saying I've got base lots, which is I think what we have now. I've got half or less at the base price, right?
And I'd say that a third of them should be at the base.
It's a very good point, Dan. In the reserve, we've got like one that's at the base price. And I've had a realtor call me out on that and say,
that's wrong too.
I know, they said, this is total bait and switch. You said $60,000 base, you got one or maybe two that fit that, and everything else is higher.
Yep.
I was like, oh my gosh. So you're right.
All the
I
way
agree.
up to
That
9,000.
I agree with the step up, but the base, we should have a majority base.
premium, because they were priced more individually at one point, because when things were more distressed 3-4 years ago, you just had a lot price, right?
Right.
Someone came in, they take on 20 for 20,000 or 40, whatever. As things have gotten better, cherry picking is the thing that we really try to avoid, and that's just always going to happen unless you price that out in some fashion. So that's what you're trying to avoid. And so those lots were priced individually as opposed to a base premium. That base premium was, I think, I don't know if it was New Home Star or Inspired was kind of asking to get to that point versus having individual prices. They wanted, all lots are this, but then these are better, so these are worth more. So that's where that evolved. So I don't know, you want to go back to individual prices?
No.
I think we just need to revisit.
This is, and I will tell you guys,
the
like,
reserve
this is,
specifically.
we need this feedback from you guys. This is a discussion Trey, Ernie, Corey need to have.
And we've been having it.
Yeah, I know you
working on
guys-
it. So we're making progress,
Yeah.
and we're switching things. But the good example is it the Moons? So they come in, first one we sell is the best lot in terms of the most premium for a much lesser price, and that just sets precedence. And I know we're trying to get things going, but that's an example of when you're having those premiums, that person comes in, they should be trying to be driven down to, if that's, to a lesser priced lot to get to that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna compress everything.
But I think it gets to Kyle's point too. It's like, you guys have 700 lots out here, right? So at least
sure.
show me half your lot. Like, at least show me half your lots without a premium. in a community where all you can see is lots, right? And it's different in the reserve when you've got 60 lots left.
Yeah.
And you're trying to force them, but you get into Kensington, and I would argue Kensington is still a distressed community. I don't think we build enough houses, regardless of what the market's doing around there. I don't think that specific community is out of the distressed market yet. And I think that you go in there and you're like, well,
It's a sea of dirt.
I'm not sure I would consider this lot a premium based on the fact that I see 700 lots that are undeveloped.
And part of that's on our end. I mean, I've kind of people who have picked an undeveloped lot on my map.
Yeah.
Not even the released lot, not even the developed lot, and like just pointed, I want this one. Obviously, I had to, you talk to them and stuff like that. But that's when people see something like that and they see these massive community, they're gonna,
Sure.
So I think
They're
the
gonna
net.
pick it
Let me just summarize this. I think,
Well, I think
that-
Kensington's a little different because
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
so
You're right.
exactly.
all
It
the
is.
other ones are better markets, better,
Yep, you're
less
right.
stressed. And we have talked, and I don't know if we're getting to a point, I think, for 2015 where internally we're gonna put the lots essentially at cottages 30, I think this is what Ernie's recommending, and then the Valley Retreat at like 36.
Mhm.
So that's, internally that's, you still want a number out there that's higher if someone comes in and wants a build job and they're not.
Yeah,
You don't wanna,
yeah, reach out, right.
you really don't want, you wanna sell the home and then plug in the lot versus, build off the lot.
20% of
Yeah,
whatever it is. You're right.
but,
So
so we can get to the point if there is that base set up there and we, knowing internally that, like, example is 107 where you were saying there was, if we had 5,000 off, we could get that deal done.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we wanna get to that point, obviously.
So I think the net is, I go back and figure out from Randy and the Luchin guys, based on the information that you guys have already worked on, how detailed we can get in terms of what houses can fit on each lot, right? And then we potentially, I think if the number's 25 in the reserve, I think that's probably a good number. We probably figure out if we need to back off Kensington and get less lots with more information. And then probably take a look at just the spreads of premium lots to make sure we feel like we've got enough at a base and we have enough at a premium to protect our best lots, but also be able for someone to come in to build a base house with a base foundation on a base lot, so they're able to achieve the price that they see on the website without having one option. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would do very well with fewer lots, more information, and then on the other lots we can hypothesize what we want. This might be this might be that.
Yeah.
But if we can solidify just a smaller number, would because I understand too. There's a lot. I mean, it's expensive to go out there and have an engineering plan. It takes a long time. So I don't know what you feel about that, Kyle, but I think I'm okay with a smaller number of lots as long as we have more information.
I think that's
And maybe a selection of, well, these two will be a walkout, these two
that
will
makes
be a flat.
all the sense in the world that you're not going, let me get back to you. That's
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
That's the
Because
whole that we've talked
builder's gonna
about.
show
Yeah.
you 700 lots and say, you know what,
Yeah.
pick whatever lot you want. There's no builder in the world who does that. They, like Nate mentioned earlier, I think it was a really good explanation. They do release it in groups, and they do that for a reason. So
For the benefit
people
of the
aren't spread
customer.
all over
Yeah.
Kingdom Come, and it is too. It is.
And it also enables that thing that we talked about last week where it's not the car dealership where you're like, let me go talk to my manager, let me get
Right.
back to you, right? You're
Yeah.
able to say, I'm standing here, I'm selling you the lot, this is a walkout,
Yeah.
I'm your person, right? As
Otherwise,
opposed
it's
to-
Know
continuous
it.
construction, like you said.
Okay, I think those are great.
And then also in
decisions.
Humford,
Good.
we have a number out there for what's been released or will be released, if we need to relook at that before we
Okay.
do that, so I think it was 30 now, if that needs to go
Okay.
20 or 40.
I mean, I think the point of and Nate, just to finish this discussion on the premiums, I would just like to eliminate the nickel and dime ones, right? It's like if it's a premium, it's a premium. But like this lot plus 1,000 is the stuff that I think is annoying and kind of counterproductive. I think that this lot plus 5,000, yeah, absolutely. But I would rather be able to say, look, either have a premium lot or a front porch on a Craftsman. And then if you got all the money to spend, have a premium lot and a front porch on the Craftsman. But that's the thing where
That's a good option too.
That's the thing where people walk in. It's like it's 5,000 plus another 5,000 plus. Then I'm getting a little.
And they can't choose
shaky
between the
about
two, and they
my
will if their
budget.
budget's that tight. They will choose between those two.
Yeah, but I think the net of this discussion is we still need to protect our best lots, which is not what Tracy Cross
And
proposes.
So you should fine, and as long as we're doing that, I think I put some premiums on there because of proximity to the amenity building, and you don't want to do that because we want to build and focus on that section, and that's fine. But then do not negotiate premiums, guys. We set premiums that we all buy into, and if somebody says, well, if I can get this lot for $2,500, no. The answer is no, because what you're doing is you're letting them cherry pick. They have to either pay the value of the lot or pick a different one. And that's how you protect your best lots, because then they're going to compromise something. So are they going to compromise the 5,000? Are they going to compromise the elevation? Are they going to compromise the flooring? Are they going to what's most important, and get them to satisfy their needs, prioritize their wants. Don't just do everything they want you to, because they'll take advantage, and you'll be sitting in that community. And I won't feel bad when, Kyle, you're sitting up there selling all road lots and saying, what the hell, I can't make any money. Should have defended your premium. I'm telling you, that's the way to do it. Otherwise, you're in bad situations longer term, and you're not maximizing the profitability of the opportunity.
It makes closeout in the community a lot tougher.
Yeah.
And people,
I would rather take a
protracted
$10,000 lot premium down to $5,000 and sell the rest of them like that and get you out to the next grand opening than to have you sit on a road lot that's marked down discount for 6 months.
And then on the Tracy Cross stuff, I don't think it's based on numbers. He's not the motion side, where I see a lot of different buyers come in where that's why we always try to mark lots. It's hard again at Kensington because they're so robotic, like the same, whereas most communities there's more difference in them. But we put them ABC lots, to where that C lot is that cheapest lot. But you've got a lot of buyers that come in that want to be at the bottom rung and sneak into like a higher community. And so you got to identify those people right away, where they're willing to take an inferior lot to be in a community that they don't have to stretch in to get to D and A lots. And so they'll come in, they'll take that, like that's the lot you're building on at Stonegate, where that buyer will come in and want to be around $600,000.
That's the value.
Appreciation,
yes.
Instant
And
appreciation in a home.
They'll be next to the power line, but they're okay with it.
Yep.
Because they're in this community, and so there's a big, different type of buyer that has different.
Yeah, that's a great point, Corey.
So.
Great. And I think people are used to and expect lot premiums. That's just a given. I've built 2 homes, both times situation, pick this lot, it's a C level, B or an A.
Yep.
Just people expect it, so good point, Nate, guys. All right, moving on. Basement finish plans, if we had 1 or 2 layout options per model, I think that would be a benefit. That helps us upsell the upgrade. So more money for Inspired. It could be simple, nothing, one, have a bedroom and a bath and a certain size square foot rec area, and just so they can show them, hey, on this Opus, here's 2 options of a finished basement.
That's on the list. I created a matrix for Randy, and he's working on it, and it's going to be $1 per square foot to say, look, in this one you're going to have a rec room and a bathroom, rec room and a 1-bedroom, rec room and a 2-bedroom.
Will that have a floor plan of it too,
Yeah.
where it looks?
Yeah, and so he's going to do it in every home, but it was just like we are leaving money on the table, not having basement options, especially the way that we build. In terms of being able to maximize, you can sell an upgraded faucet for $200 all day long. That's not going to get us to the finish line. Selling a $20,000 basement that we're making 40 points on is going to get us to the number that we need. We got to get there, and we will. Randy's starting on it right now. Randy's our pinch point right now, just because he's doing so much stuff. But he has a matrix that I specifically gave to him to say, these are all the layouts that we need, and then you guys are going to be able to sell it just at it'll be a room count and a square footage, and then based on the layout, you'll have $1 per square foot. So if you just have a rec room, it'll be 20 something, right? Because you got no amenities.
That's huge. And so instead of selling a ranch with a roller skating rink, you've got some livable space down there. It's a big, beautiful area that needs to be.
Okay, last item on here, it would be very helpful for the entire sales team, and we discussed this a little bit previously, be to have preloaded cash cards for each sales agent. Just put a certain amount on there per month. All of the statements can go back to one entity. They can review. It is all business expense. This is helpful because it allows a sales agent from coming directly out of pocket on months when things may be slow. So they know they've got the money on the card. They can go in. They can buy realtor lunches, things like that.
Done.
Huge. Yeah.
Thank you,
huge.
Nate. Inspired Homes, we're excited to be an integral part of the Inspired Home sales team. And I don't think any single one of us would be here if we didn't believe in the product. I know I certainly wouldn't, and I can speak for these guys as well. So,
Cool. Nice
any
job.
other questions?
Really good job, guys. Really, really good.
Yeah, you can tell there was a ton of effort put into this. It's very evident, so we really appreciate that. We'll continue to dial this in and get better from here. But I think you set the bar pretty high for yourselves,
Yep.
which is a great thing. So thank you for the effort.
Very good.
It's a big deal, and these are great conversations. This is progress, and your intuitions and your experiences and bringing this to the table and allowing people to fight about it a little bit sometimes all the time is really good. We're all looking to do and accomplish the same thing. And so we need to have these conversations, and we need it to be routine and regular so that we're always driving and getting better. And I think that's the thing that I know, and that makes me so excited, and why I love to visit here is because I know every single person here on this team is trying to do and accomplish the same thing. And that's to make Inspired Homes very successful and make Mariner very successful. And I think it's a really cool thing that we're changing the industry this way. And that doesn't come without its set of opinions and conversation. So thank you guys for leading that.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Yeah.
making us do it.
Yeah.
We learn
Yeah.
a lot about our own communities. It's
We
good.
like it.
It's fun and
That's
better.
good.
Yeah.
You will continue to and stay up to date on it, and that will get the system and the process will get more and more fluid as our technology continues to get better. And so, we only go up from here. So I'm glad for it. So thank you for the efforts. I think it will make a difference and make you all more money